alternative ways of engaging in the workforce. So if it's not direct career ladder or career lattice, but it's more remote and it's more differential types of engagement in the workforce, how do we support and reinforce those? And how do we make investments that will lead to bringing more wealth into those communities? The third one, I can't tell you how much I love this third one. It shouldn't be an aha, but it really struck me that what the data showed was that college students' first job post-training is the most critical. It has one of the most significant impacts on lifetime earnings and career trajectory. And so if we want to ensure that our students are on an upward mobility path, whether they start out at the fast food chain or whether they start out as a CNA, how do we ensure that we are disrupting that trajectory or understanding what those trajectories are? How do we do that? By changing the way we think about what data we're capturing and reporting on, but also how do we change that by more proactively engaging in those work experiences while they are with us to facilitate a stronger first job that leads to stronger career mobility for our students. What I want to emphasize here is that while we have historically centered employers and the regional employment openings or industry sectors, that is one side of the coin. The flip side of the coin is understanding how that impacts our students' career mobility. And so this isn't an either or, but really trying to understand how do we balance that focus and really center what students are experiencing as they navigate their employment trajectory. Similar or building from finding number 3, finding number 4 really does center that the employment experience, the applied experiential learning, whether that's through student enterprise, whether that's through actual internships, or whether that's through learning labs on a campus, all of that really matters for both facilitating that first job and facilitating stronger employment outcomes for our students. And then lastly, again, not surprising, but heartening given the work that we've been doing here in California, that those pathways still really matter. So it isn't a let's get rid of career ladders and lattices, but much more of a how do we have a more holistic approach to facilitate access to multiple aspects of the way the workforce is evolving. And so again, implemented with fidelity, our career pathways still really matter. So next slide, please. This one is very brief because we are still unpacking the findings from the landscape analysis and interviews with our California specific campuses. But I don't think, again, it'll be a surprise that what we found, what's emerging, I should say. 4 findings are emerging that is really centered around disproportionate or differentiated approaches to how campuses understand and engage with equity. Often, for example, driven by Perkins definitions, where it's much more about gender equality within occupations rather than a sort of more comprehensive DEIA agenda like this board has adopted. It also highlighted differentiated ways of collecting and engaging with data. I also want to emphasize that the interviews for the California specific landscape were not exclusively with workforce development staff or professionals across our campuses, but really at the direction of campus leadership who engages in employment related activities. And then the researchers worked with and interviewed constituents across the campus at the direction of their leadership. So it tried to give us a more diverse exposure to what is happening on campuses relative to employment activities. Strategy and structure surrounding the student employment is an additional finding that's surfacing, that often these things are happening in pockets, sometimes, as we all know, in the trailer at the back of the campus, and in different areas depending on where the funding is and who's leading which efforts. And then lastly, the student employment portfolio of services and programs, again, is very fragmented and disconnected, which hinders our ability to maximize all of the investments on a campus. Again, I don't think any of these findings are shocking, and what they really do is highlight for us some areas of focus that we can be leaning into as we go forward. So with that, try to quickly provide a little bit of context as we then move into highlighting a handful of the 6 priorities that were outlined in your board item that point the direction that we intend to be moving over 2023. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Sandra.
Thank you, EVC Alvarado. Good afternoon, Board President Costa, Vice President Aguinaldo, members of the board, and Chancellor Gonzalez. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. As EVC Alvarado mentioned, over the past year, we have taken it to heart, the findings of the landscape analysis, and it's been informing the work and, of course, the 6 priorities that were detailed in your item. And if you go to the next slide, please. So today I'm going to spend some time on 3 of these and the work that has been started in these areas. Next slide, please. So over the past year, we've been very busy making enhancements and improvement to our current programs with an eye towards what we've learned about the importance of the first job. So today I'm just going to focus on a few highlights. You're already familiar with the work experience regulations update, and we presented those to the board in July. And so we are waiting currently for state approval of those so we can issue guidelines to the field for the implementation of those regulations. Also, we've also been working really hard to updating a number of our RFAs, primarily to streamline the processes and minimize the burdens that are placed on the colleges as they apply for these dollars. And at the top of the list have been apprenticeships. In order to reach the governor's goal for 500,000 apprentices, we've simplified our application process to facilitate colleges and employers accessing these dollars. One of the things that we've learned over the past year from our colleges and also from employers is that we have a burdensome process for accessing that. And so we've been really focused on streamlining that. The other thing that we are doing is we're contracting the National Center for Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning to really help the Chancellor's office kind of rethink and reimagine how we would do this in a much more streamlined and easier, more accessible way, as well as thinking about contracting a technical assistance provider to support the field, as colleges have expressed a concern with a lack of understanding for how to effectively administer apprenticeship programs, but also how to work with employers and engage in those conversations. So for that work, we are leveraging our Perkins state investment as well as our strong workforce dollars. And then, as you can see from the slide, we have engaged in various career education initiatives and workforce efforts, amongst them partnering with our California Department of Education and Workforce Board. Next slide, please. So for the coming year, we're going to be focusing on first job and its impact for the lifetime earning on students. And we're going to build on this national landscape and these evidence-based practices to strengthen employment outcomes for our students. As we move the work forward, we'll focus on expanding internships, experiential learning, and job placement opportunities for our students in the system. In addition, we're also going to be leveraging our regional investments to provide colleges more support and understanding on how to use their student employment outcomes data to improve their local investments and the infrastructure to support and provide greater access to students for those work-based learning opportunities. Next slide. Another area that we are going to spend some time on over the next year is our regional investments. We will be, again, streamlining RFAs to update and reinforce the focus on student outcomes and data. And the goal of this will be to support colleges in understanding or having greater understanding to labor market demand data and how it enhances their ability to support programs within our system, is, in addition to workforce programs, also our bachelor's degree program. Supporting colleges with the interpretation of the data. Colleges have expressed concern about needing more support in how to use our employment outcomes data for students so that they can better serve them. And so we will be building that into the regional RFAs, as well as they've expressed desire for support in how to implement new policies and regulations. And so lots of professional development coming their way. So more to come in the coming months. I will tell you that we are expecting to release our formerly Centers of Excellence RFA probably by the end of February. And our goal is to have those reissued, awarded by July. So you will be hearing more about that in the coming months. Next slide, please. And finally, one of the things that I wanted to highlight today is that we can't do our work without our partners. So today I'm going to talk about two of our key partners, the California Department of Education and our Workforce Board. So I'm going to start with California Department of Ed. We are engaging with them in several efforts. We're working towards enhancing our adult education program outcomes. In your item, I referenced the recently released LAO report or brief, making recommendations about how the dollars to this program are allocated, and we'll be reviewing that brief and making recommendations regarding how to better improve student outcomes for that program. We're working in partnership with the State Department of Education, the Labor and Workforce Development Agency, the California Health and Human Services Agency to develop guidance, and a funding solicitation for the $130 million to support limited term healthcare focused vocational pathways, including bridge programs for English language learners across all levels of English proficiency through the adult education program. Oh, that was a lot. I will bring you updates about that program as those evolve. We are planning to have the RFA define the parameters for that by the end of March. I will also bring you at the next time this board meets the California State Plan for Career Technical Education. The plan is in its final review. The California Workforce Pathways Joint Advisory Committee, and we have 3 of our BOG members that serve on that committee, and they're in the final stages of reviewing that plan. So I would like to acknowledge and thank Member Rawlings, Member Grande, and Member Williams for all of their hard work on that committee. And last update in terms of partnerships is from for our Strong Workforce K-12 program. It continues to move forward. We are in our 5th round of funding. In addition to the grants that are being issued through that, this year in partnerships with our colleagues in the research division, I want to thank Dr. John Hetz. We have launched the Strong Workforce K-12 Launch Board Dashboard that displays student outcomes data for our K-12 students who are participating in this program. And then I'm going to pivot over to the California Workforce Development Board partnerships. We've been collaborating very closely with our partners at the Workforce Board. Last year, AB 132 gave our system $20 million to work with our workforce development colleagues on 2 programs to strengthen the alignment of community colleges with workforce initiatives administered by the California Workforce Development Board. The Regional Equity and Recovery Partnership grants have been issued to colleges to expand our college's ability to focus on integrating community college priorities into programs identified and developed by these partnerships. Among the activities that are going to come about are awarding credit for prior learning, creating work-based learning opportunities, providing academic and career supports, and providing on-ramps to credit pathways that lead to industry-valued credentials or degrees. And the last partnership, the High Road Training Partnership Construction Career Programs, has the same focus in terms of the activities, but it is really intentionally partnering with our High Road Training Partnership and Construction Career Consortium programs that are hosted by our workforce development partners. So as we continue to work, we will focus our efforts on supporting colleges to build the needed infrastructure to ensure students have access to greater work-based learning opportunities, including experiential learning, internships, and job placement. So thank you very much for your time. That was the last slide. That concludes the presentation, and we're happy to take any of your questions.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments for the presenters?
Thank you very much. And thank you very, very much for the presentation. We have worked hard with the California Workforce Pathways Joint Advisory Committee to get to the point of putting forward our CTE state plan. And I'm impressed with how far we've come with what we've done in the Strong Workforce Program. When we go back, almost 10 years ago now, and we look at the task force recommendations from 2016, and those 25 of them, and we begin to look at the progress we've made and check out off the ones that we've really done major work on. we now have even more work to do, especially in a recession or an impending recession, to be able to continue with the level of funding that we've become accustomed to. But we've also seen how amazing we've been able to leverage that funding to expand, grow better, and more vibrant, high-impact programs. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Board Member Hayes.
So I want to say thank you as well, having served on.
Yes.
And then reading where we are now. So it really has made a really big difference. So I want to know sort of how this works relative to the offerings of our colleges, the needs of that's out in the workspace, and then these emerging jobs. And so my thinking about it is the agility to make these transitions on our campuses, and to what extent is there going to be preparation for doing that piece of it? I say that with the knowledge that there's some emerging work that between now, which is the beginning of 2023, and 2027, which is about 4 years from now, there are some jobs out there that 17,000 in about 5 different industries that we have, that we are thinking, that some folks are thinking about. And so and maybe this is a redundant question, and y'all will say, we don't know, but I've said it out loud. Sometimes we have programs in which the ramping up takes a while for existing courses. So I'm thinking of healthcare, which we always will need, and other kinds of courses, which we will always need. And yet there are jobs that are going to be created in the next months or so in which we're not prepared to access. When we look at this data, there are like 17,000 jobs in the state of California. Now they're spread, of which our colleges, when statewide, has created certificates for about 1,200 of them, or 2,400 of them. And so are we looking at those, and how do we do it as community colleges? We talk about credit for prior learning. We are talking about competency-based, but are we ramping up some of those kinds of things sort of fast enough? And with fidelity to make certain that time frame is shortened, and making certain that our students know about those kinds of jobs as well, because some of them, and then I'll stop and let you respond. Some of them, you talked about it earlier, and it was this, our students are based on some of these jobs, it's a lattice. They need some skill sets in which they can get that first job, but they have career mobility.
Right.
And that needs to be embedded as we develop the curriculum and everything else that goes along.
There's a lot to unpack
I
in
know
that. I think a couple of things that I'd like to highlight, in particular, given some of our colleagues that I've seen in the audience earlier today, our campuses are doing amazing short-term workforce training. They are responding immediately. I think one of the bigger challenges that we have is that too often our system doesn't capture any of that data, particularly if it's short-term, non-curriculum, rapid response training. We have been in conversations internally to try to figure out how do we capture those students without slowing down the rapid response, right? So when we talk about the shifting structures, we can't impede. We don't want to impede. We don't want to create a barrier, but those students are not receiving transcripts in the same way that our credit or even non-credit students are, right? We call that the not for credit space. And so really trying to understand how do we leverage that rapid response infrastructure that our campuses have built in order to be nimble and really ensure that those students are then integrated into our system to be able to capture that upward trajectory mobility in the educational training as we're walking alongside them. I think the other piece of this is, while apprenticeship is not the end all be all solution, it really is a vehicle that we have not fully unpacked and explored to really understand how do we work alongside working individuals to continue to upskill and reskill and help them move along their journey, particularly as they will be the individuals who are often most likely positioned to move into some of those new industries as they emerge. I think about the green automotive economy, right? Alternative fuel vehicles. You take individuals who are already in that industry and help them reskill and upskill at the beginning of those emerging sectors. And so how do we work with employers to help figure out what those structures look like in order to better streamline some of that and make it less painful both for the employers and for our institutions. The other thing I would just point to is that we want to ensure that we are designing targeted pilots that enable some of our campuses to really explore and begin to try to understand what it would look like, for example, to maximize first job employment opportunities. And so part of that is some seed funding, either through existing funding or advocating for new funding. But I think we right now, at least initially, feel like we can launch some of this with the funding that we have and designing it in a way that creates that space for campuses to really lean in and understand how are they doing right now, and then what does it look like for them to ramp that up and expand, and what might they need that we could then use again for future advocacy and or support. So I think there's a couple of solutions that we are thinking about deploying, all in service of trying to better support institutions with facilitating this in a more comprehensive and supported way. Too often right now, the colleges that are running with this and doing really well, it's through heroic efforts or a lot of local investment. It's not necessarily because we have a structure that facilitates it more seamlessly. So they can really focus on those employer relationships. I lied. I have one more thing to add to that. I'm sorry. The other thing that I would point to are things like our child development centers and other campus infrastructure pieces that are tied to our curriculum, practicums, child development centers, healthcare, where there is a built-in infrastructure, not just in the curriculum programming, but also in the way we staff those programs and efforts. They have directors, they have folks who are responsible for employment-related activities. This is a part of what we're wrestling with as we think about a structure that actually facilitates the walking alongside students while they are engaged in employment. So lots of work ahead. The other thing that Vice Chancellor Sanchez noted was the regional infrastructure. Our centers of excellence right now engage in labor market data for their region. They do an amazing job. They are not sufficiently resourced at the moment in order to be able to expand that effort to really take on the student level data of what's that career trajectory data, and really working with campuses and supporting them as campuses try to undertake these pilots and or innovations. So we want to make sure that the dollars are going where they are needed in order to make these types of changes.
Thank you. I have two observations. One of them is the governor's roadmap is really talking about workforce in so many cases, and sees the work that we're doing, but it needs to be, it's the goal is to have it in alignment in a way that we move the ball forward. So I know I'm giving more work, but I'm really sorry. But it seems to me that we really kind of need to see how this is kind of working in the field.
Yeah. Yes.
And so in order to make really policy decisions to be helpful. So I'll leave that there. The other is, I'm really glad you brought up child development centers, because I was looking for it in the notes. And so let me say, and I'll just once again use Los Rios, because I'm not pointing fingers at anyone else. What we have found is that in many cases, our students of color are in those low paying fields. They never get out, or many of them, most of them, majority of them it is sort of, it is their end. Okay. And so for our board, we're saying we want to see the numbers. And then we want to help to design something in which our students are given options and alternatives to that. What are the skills that are built there? And what are the jobs that pay more of a living wage than what folks have? At least they'd have an opportunity to do that. And again, the data shows that that's where they are. And we've got to look at the data honestly. So I just want to make certain that when we start talking about child development centers, yeah, we hope that those are going to ultimately be paying, but they may not be. And so, okay, because that's not.
No, I might point to, I use the child development centers as an example of where we have built infrastructure in order to support applied experiential learning. If we think about our campus health centers, is there a place in time where we could think about what our campus health centers might look like if they also facilitated practicum learning experience, right? So we have examples of it.
The lab.
How do we leverage, right, the types of facilities we have on campus or services we have on campus, whether that's the automotive hangars, or whether that's the on-campus health centers, to really try to create opportunities where we can expand experiential learning. But what I would say about the child development component is, and so that's what I mean by pilots. How do we enable campuses to think creatively about how they create infrastructure that better facilitates experiential learning and work-based learning opportunities? What I would also say though is how do we, what we want to see through the centers of excellence is really this emphasis on the student career trajectory data, so that we have the data on whether, Dr. Hetz will kick me under the table for this, right? But how do we have the data, and what do we see relative to individuals who go into child development? Where do they go next? Where do they get stuck? Is it upward or is it lateral? And how do we more deliberately disrupt that in order to ensure that it is upward, right? So that's what we're wrestling through as we think about pilots and some of the future efforts and investments.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks. So I love this. This is great. You and I have had a lot of offline conversations because it's macroeconomics. And I love it. I really liked finding number 2, because all of WIOA is kind of predicated on this regional model. And so I think it is excellent that you guys are thinking about the fact that that could actually further inequities, because we know that in certain regions of the state, that's a real issue. And then the fact that whatever the future workforce looks like, remote, hybrid, it actually provides different opportunities.
That's right.
I looked to see, I'm going to date myself, if it even still existed, which is our salary surfer, and it does. But I hope that's in the plans too, because it is very much in the career ladder model.
Right.
And what we really need is a choose your own adventure. So anyway, I'm looking forward to this work. I think it's really great. You guys have brought forward some really interesting things to think about in this space. So thank you. With that, do we have any public comments on this item?
President Costa, I'm sorry. And member Hall does have his virtual hand up. Would you like to take his comment?
Yeah, I can't see him on the screen, so thank you.
Yeah, you know, my video, it says not turning on, the host turn it off, which is probably better for the group, frankly, but
That was me, Kevin. No, just kidding.
keep it off. Keep it off. I don't blame you. So real fast question, because that's a lot of information to digest, but we're talking about industries that are growing and where jobs are going to be. I mean, are some of these, I assume some of these programs are directed to move students into the teaching profession?
Absolutely.
Yes, we do have initiatives around the state around teacher preparation. And we are working closely with our colleagues at the CSUs to make sure that our curriculums are aligned and are feeding students into education programs. But absolutely, that is definitely something that is prevalent within our system currently.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll now move to public comment on the item.
The public comment period for item 5.2 is now open. We will start with public remarks in Sacramento, then move on to virtual comments. For virtual attendees, please utilize the raised hand feature. If you are calling in, press *9. You will have 2 minutes. I will hand it over to Vice President Aguinaldo for public comments in Sacramento.
Thank you very much. We have one request for public comment coming from Ginny May. Please approach the podium.
So greetings, President Costa, Vice President Aguinaldo, Chancellor Gonzalez, and members of the board. And Pam, I think I was channeling you when I was writing my comments yesterday. Thank you for bringing this item forward, as career and technical education is vital. It's a vital component of the California Community College mission. The ASCCC has long championed and supported CTE coursework and programs. So here's some food for thought. Childcare and early childhood education services and workers are in demand in California. However, the education and human development sector is not one of the strong workforce program identified priority industry sectors to guide career and technical education priorities and address the statewide labor crisis, because these jobs are not considered high-wage careers. Where society puts their dollars reflects their values. These careers are essential for an equitized society, a major factor to moving families from living in poverty to middle class is by providing high-quality childcare and early childhood education. So if there's a way that we can do anything to get this moving and make a change, I urge us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any virtual comments on this item?
President Costa, there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you so much, Gary. Okay, so our next item, thank you so much for the presentation, is 5.4. This is the Rising Scholars Network Program. We have. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipping you. 5.3, sorry, Dr. Lowe. Equitable placement, support and completion, remedial education, reform, implementation, update. That's a mouthful, but we have Dr. Lowe and Dr. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, President Costa and members of the board. We know we are short on time, so we will try to move through this expeditiously. So excited to give you an update on where we are as a state and a system with our remedial education reform efforts. We'll move forward quickly. Next slide, please. I will not belabor some of these opening slides. We've had numerous conversations here about this important work that our system is leading. We know what the goals were, what some of the policy reform was that led to these important changes in the way that we do placements within our system. And we've continuously highlighted the important role that this has in a student's learning journey and the ultimate ability for us to fulfill the goals of the Vision for Success, as well as guided pathways. Next slide, please. You've seen this table before of the implementation progress to date. I will skip over these items that we have reviewed in the past and move to the next slide and really just update us on where we have been since summer of 2021. You all may or may not recall, because it's been quite some time since then, that we had a set of validation of practices for the implementation of English and math for AB 705. We presented the results of that validation of practices to the board, and that led to our required improvement plans. So we rolled those out to the system in fall of 2021. We had all of the colleges to submit an improvement plan, and it had a number of details within it, as well as promising practices for them. Those were due in March of 2022. We have simultaneously been engaged in a whole set of work around English as a second language, which I will not highlight today for the sake of time. But we did collect those improvement plans, and part of what we will present to you today is an update on the results of those improvement plans. As you all know, since that time, AB 1705 has passed. So we'll also give you a high-level update on AB 1705 and next steps for implementation of AB 1705. Next slide, please. We want to, of course, start with good news. We want to give you an update on where the system is in implementation, give you an update on both enrollment as well as success in transfer level English and math with the most recent data. Next slide, please. So as you will see here, we continue to progress significantly as a system in giving students access to transfer level English and math courses. You can see here these very substantial increases that have taken place because of the implementation of remedial education reform. And you see that though we have a gap there between English and math, there's been substantial increase for both disciplines. Next slide, please. We then, when we look at successful completion of those transfer level English and math courses over the course of 1 year, we also see those substantial increases here from prior to AB 705, lows of 26% and 49% in math and English to now increases of 55% to 67% in math and English. We still have a ways to go, right, to achieve what I think any of us would consider sort of the heights of academic excellence, but we have made substantial progress. Next slide, please. Looking then at our racial and ethnic groups, you see on one side of the graph increases in access to those transfer level courses and in English, and then you see on the other side access in math. So access to transfer level English courses has increased significantly, is nearly universal for the vast majority of our students. And we have also seen substantial increases in math, as you see here, from previous lows of 15 and 49% to highs of 77 to 88%. So still some gaps to close there. You can still see in the differences in the lines on the far right side that we still have some equity gaps there in terms of how different groups are accessing transfer level math, but we have made substantial progress. Next slide, please. Looking then again at English and math, again for racial and ethnic groups, but now looking at successful completion. Again, here we see, again, strong increases, but we also see that equity gaps have persisted. They have narrowed, which is good news, but they have persisted. So you see for English that we have seen increases from lows of 31 and 59% to highs of 56 and 80%, but then you still see that gap, right, of a low of 56% compared to 80% in 21-22. And so we do see these equity gaps persisting even though they have narrowed. We see more of a sort of a span of gaps when we look at math. Again, substantial increases from 2015-16 to 21-22, but we do continue to see equity gaps for particular groups of students in terms of their completion, their successful completion of those transfer level English and math courses. So we have both things to celebrate and work to continue to do across these fronts as we continue to work to close equity gaps for our various racial and ethnic groups. Next slide, please. Looking then at another set of important student populations, you see reflected here, EOP&S, foster youth, Puente Umoja, our disability, students with disabilities and military students. Again, you see these massive increases in access to transfer level English here. You're seeing specifically where that access to transfer level English is near universal for all student groups. When you then shift to that successful completion, excuse me, of transfer level English, we see increases and important increases, and yet we see those gaps between certain groups persisting. Of particular concern are our foster youth, as you see, though it's increased from 32 to 52%, still quite different and lower than that high of 81% for completion. And then next slide for math, same visual, but for math specifically, same student groups. Again, we have seen some powerful increases in access, but we do see in math here for these same student groups, some continued equity gaps there around access as well. That's why we have some students that are getting near universal access at 94%, and that is actually for students that participate in Puente. We then see these lower percentages as we look at the other groups underneath that. And then for 1 year completion in math for these particular subgroups of students, again, some healthy increases from 15 to 39%, 23 to 57%. But again, certainly not at the levels that we would want to see 1 year completion. And we continue to see those persistent equity gaps between those groups of students. So again, a lot to celebrate, but a lot more work to be done, and we'll talk a bit more about the work to be done. But I will turn it over to Dr. Hitz for a couple of other data highlights.
Hello again, everyone. So if we could go to the next slide. So now we're going to get into a little bit more complex sets of data. So she's turning it over to me. One of the things that you should notice from all of the graphs that you've seen is that all of those exist for particular reasons. That is, they exist to answer questions about whether or not AB 705 would work for someone. Would it work for students of color? Would it work for women? Would it work for students with disabilities? Would it work for EOP&S? Would it work for students with disabilities, right? All of these groups. And one of the what about that we were asked to look at was what about within students with disabilities? Does it have differential effects for students with different disabilities? And what you can see is across every different identifiable disability that we track within the California community colleges, the outcomes for students with disabilities are better under AB 705 and have increased in both English and math for all of them. Now, it is true that for some students, particularly students with intellectual disabilities, their performance overall is lower, but it is not the case that AB 705 is worse for those students. So there are different sets of questions that we need to target in our understanding of what's best for those students, but there is no disability, there is no group that anyone's been able to identify for which AB 705 has made their outcomes worse. So even in those circumstances on the previous graphs where you saw continuing equity gaps between students, what you also saw is for every single one of those groups, massive improvements in their likelihood of completing transfer level English and math. Historic types of improvements. For some groups, double, triple the types of rates that you've seen previously. And one in particular, Puente, their transformation and the number of students who start in transfer level and then complete has been incredible. So if we could go to the next slide. One of the other questions that comes up that we've been asked to chase down is like, what are the impacts on the amount of failure that students experience? And so one of the concerns that people have brought forward is that as we've brought more people into transfer level, the success rate at transfer level has gone down somewhat. Not substantially, but somewhat. And the question is, are we leading more students to have more non-successful completions, having a D or an F or a W as their first experience? But when people ask that question, they've often done so in a way that's not been perfectly ingenuous. They've disappeared the comparison of all the non-completions below transfer level. And so what this graphic does is it looks both prior to AB 705 and after AB 705, the volume of non-successful completions that we saw in our system for students in the first 2 years from their start of an English or math course, whether below transfer level or above. And what you can see is that we've had a dramatic reduction in the number of failure experiences that our students have had in our system. In English, roughly across those three cohorts, about 142,000 or roughly 50,000 fewer failed attempts per cohort per year. In mathematics, we've had almost 450,000 fewer failed attempts or 135,000 fewer per cohort. That roughly works out to the neighborhood of 193,200 failures that aren't happening every single year, right? As a function of AB 705. That's one every 3 minutes. That's a non-successful completion that would have happened prior to AB 705 that is not happening. Since the beginning of this meeting, we've had roughly, we're in the neighborhood of about 6 to 7 hours, between 120 and 140 non-successful completions have not happened because of this reform. That's fewer failure experiences. That's fewer negative experiences with our system. This has been transformative on so many levels, but one of them has been to take away this first experience at college that you didn't belong. Next slide. So one of the things we always have to make sure to control for is our volume of students is a little bit lower, right? So we have a little fewer students now, if we've discussed in previous items. So this just tries to standardize that by the number of students attempt, right? So within every 100 students that attempt an English course, We have 12% fewer, we have 12 fewer, excuse me, for every 100. We have 12 fewer failed attempts in English, and we have 28 fewer failed attempts in mathematics. One of the things you might notice is that prior to AB 705, in the first 2 years, for every 100 students, we had 116 non-successful completions. Right? That means per student who started a math course, for every student, there was 1.2 non-successful completions. And this is dramatically changing that experience in our system. Next slide. Another important set of work that we've been doing is trying to bring down the number of students who are being asked to repeat courses that they've successfully completed in high school, based on evidence that we had, that other folks have had, that repeating courses that you've already successfully completed doesn't actually help you in that course or in the next course. In fact, there's evidence from a variety of different studies that unnecessary repetition of a course is actually negatively associated with completing of the next course in the sequence. So one of the big points of AB 705 is to bring that down. There's been a big reduction from 78% of our students being forced to repeat one or more math courses down to 47%. One of the reasons for AB 1705, though, is that when colleges have implemented AB 705, they focused just on that initial transfer level course. And they haven't attended to being fair to students all along the transfer level course sequence. And so they've made sure that more students started at transfer level, but they haven't honored student high school experience above transfer level. So what you're seeing there is that more students who finished in pre-calculus are asked to repeat pre-calculus than before. More students who finished in calculus are being asked to repeat calculus than before. And so AB 1705, one of the things that it seeks to do is fix that problem. Another important change is that the likelihood for disproportionately impacted students, underrepresented students of color, their disproportionate likelihood to repeat has actually gone down. They used to be 20% more likely. Now, partially because of that change that I just mentioned above transfer level, they're actually less likely than Asians and white students to have to be forced to repeat courses. And then the last part is of students who are underrepresented students of color, what percentage of them started in transfer level math? So under 25%. Now we're up to roughly an 80%. I'm sorry, who transitioned to, this is, of all the students, how many of them make it to transfer level math? This is a sea change for our institutions, for our system, and for our students. Next slide. Okay. Another set of questions that we get is, well, what about students who didn't make it to a particular level in mathematics? Are they better prepared for a STEM discipline if we start them along this pathway? And so the multiple measures assessment project team has done a variety of research on this. This is one of the slides from a paper that they published last year that looks at what happens for students who are planning to be in STEM, right? So they're STEM-oriented students. If they start in intermediate algebra versus start at a transferable college level course. And you can see that across the board, regardless of the highest level of high school math that they completed, they're far, far more likely to complete a transfer level college level course in STEM if they start in one. We have to honor the work that we've seen, the research that's here, and be fair to our students. Next slide. This is a little bit, there's a lot of stuff going on in this slide. This is just a summary of the overview of our review of the plans that colleges sent to us. So of the equitable placement and completion improvement plans that colleges sent, 6 colleges said we're all done. We're not offering any courses below transfer level. 62 colleges said we're not going to be doing that as of fall 2022. And that left 47 colleges that either didn't say anything, one college, and 46 said we're still planning to do some pre-transfer level college level enrollments. One of the things that we set up those plans to do was to immediately have them see and check their work. So it's designed to show them right away whether or not their current curriculum or any particular sub aspect of the curriculum actually maximize completion. And so when those came in, there were 19 of those that nowhere in their submission was there any evidence that they could maximize completion with a below transfer level pathway. So all of those colleges was very straightforward. They don't have any evidence that they can continue based on what they've submitted. And so they were asked to move on. Of those that remain, the 27 that remain, 19 had little bits of pieces that suggest that maybe for this one very particular combination, 9 students who had a middle level of high school preparation between 1.9 and 2.6, who were African-American, who took this course, it looked like their completion might be maximized. But then no one else that took that course. So there's not really strong evidence that that course was effective. There was just this one place where there was maybe a hint. That left 8 colleges. There are 8 colleges left. Of those, 5 were in this space where they might be maximizing throughput in a very narrow sense. That is, for students who have a degree pathway and only took the college level course. And what you saw for some of those students, right, a college level math course like intermediate algebra or geometry, what you saw for those students is that the throughput for those students might in a few very isolated cases be similar to the throughput if they took a transfer level. So based on the previous work, maybe they can continue to allow that to proceed. But we asked them for more data to make sure that we understood that those students, that the only students in those courses were students that were that had a degree plan or lower only. If they had a transfer level plan, it didn't maximize their throughput, right? It did not. And then there were 3 colleges that the data they submitted just we couldn't make heads or tails of what they submitted, so we just asked them to resubmit. But long story short, there's virtually no college that was able to demonstrate a pathway for which they started students below transfer level, and they were more likely to complete transfer level than if they started at transfer level. No college. And I just want to say that I've been doing this work for a really long time, and it makes me exceptionally uncomfortable, given the way that chance works, that no college was able to do that for any clear set of students that they could identify. That's a really big deal. And so one of the things that we need to take away from that is you'll hear lots of folks ask for, we need to continue to have permission to experiment and innovate. And some of that is built into the law. But it can't be innovation in which we continue to offer the same courses, or we continue to deliver things the same way, or we do this for a large proportion of students for whom we don't know whether or not this works. Innovation, experimentation, highly, highly encouraged. As someone who was on the other side of that conversation back when the Student Success Act came through, obviously I want people to keep trying for things. Otherwise, multiple measures, AB 705 wouldn't exist. It would have been stamped out by the California Community Colleges, I forget what it was, the Common Assessment, right? It would have been eliminated. So innovation, experimentation is important, but we also have to pay attention to the amount of evidence that we have here. And it's pretty straightforward and pretty clear that colleges have been given time prior to AB 705, right? It was implemented in fall 2017. They didn't have to implement it until fall 2019. They had those 2 years to experiment. They had another 2 years after that to experiment and implement. And still, we have not had anyone been able to come forward with evidence of an alternative approach that works. I think I'm turning it back over to you.
Yes, thank you for that, Dr. Hetz. You'll see why I bring in the heavy hit data guy to drive those points home. So this is where we are. And so in November, we did send to every college an individualized memo that reflected their results based on how they responded to the improvement plans with feedback on next steps. Of course, we did that with the caveat of and continue implementation in light of AB 1705. So next slide. I'm thinking for the sake of time, I'll sort of gloss over this here. We have a whole memorandum that has gone out to the colleges about AB 1705. We have an upcoming webinar on February 7th, which will get more into the granular details and answer colleges' questions about implementation. We're working on an implementation guide and some other more nuanced guidance for the colleges. So for the sake of time, I will move quickly through these next 2 slides on AB 1705. But as Dr. Hetz has alluded to, 1705 was an important piece of legislation, really to clarify questions that remained in 705 and to close some gaps and some loopholes in implementation. So you will see that the core provisions of 1705 are reiterating, right, and supporting AB 705. But there are some additions there. There are specific student populations that are exempted. So 1705 clearly lays out, right, that yes, there are exemptions for students who are still in high school and dual enrollment. That's an appropriate place to make use of pre-transfer level courses. Yes, there are exemptions for career technical education students that have specific requirements for the field for which they're training. There's a whole list of 9 of them. I will not list them all, but it was important for the law to be clear on those places where there were exemptions. There were a piece there then again for career technical education students specific to when college level courses might be more appropriate than the transfer level course. That is called out there. There's specific language there really calling out the important use of transfer level prerequisite coursework. And in particular, you will see throughout the law this continued requirement of validation through research. Which again, we know is just good educational practice. You're going to do something, we ought to know that it works. And really require that colleges have the data to show that what they're doing works. Next slide, please. There are some specific exemptions around STEM programs for transfer level prerequisites. Don't satisfy, again, the particular course that a student might need for their STEM major. There's also some clarity within AB 1705 around concurrent support, what that concurrent support should look like. And that is just giving you a high level overview. There is a lot of meat within 1705, which we will not take the time right now to go through. But we, again, do have a guidance memorandum that I believe we've already sent to you, Board of Governors, for your review. And we have some upcoming webinars that will take place as well. Next slide. Next slide just highlights the webinar. So we are having a system webinar on February 7th, 3:30 to 5 p.m. For the colleges. That will be an opportunity for us to overview the key provisions of AB 1705 and to take questions. Next slide, please. We will use the information from that webinar and all of the questions that we take in to update our FAQ, as well as to help inform future guidance. And then our work moving forward as the Chancellor's Office is just ensuring full implementation. And you see here some key areas where we will do that. Continued implementation guidance. So in addition to the guidance that was disseminated in December, we're working on a more nuanced implementation guide, as we're saying, because as colleges are working through local implementation, there are a lot of then if-then scenarios they work through. There's a lot of nuanced questions that they have. And so we're going to use this more detailed guide to try to get at some of those more nuanced questions. We will continue something we started in 2020-21, which is a learning series. We have used that as an opportunity really for the field to inform the field, right? Having college practitioners come who have innovative practices and sharing with the rest of the field how they transformed their math pathways, right? Or how they developed effective concurrent courses and things of that nature. So we will continue that learning series. We have that very important $64 million implementation grant source, which we are very carefully crafting as an opportunity for targeted professional development for key college stakeholders. There will, of course, be a strong focus on professional development support for faculty, and a particular focus on math. There will be a focus also on things like colleges having the support they need to further build out their institutional research and planning offices. We've certainly found in this work, in particular for some of our smaller colleges, that if you don't have the support of that strong IR office, right? You don't have your data guru, your Dr. Hetz locally, it's difficult to move the work if you don't have someone who can come alongside leadership and come alongside faculty and bring before them the data they need to look at to understand where improvements are needed. So you'll see various areas of focus, a focus within that as well on our counseling faculty, and really being sort of those first line guides for students. How do we have some targeted professional development for them? We'll be leaning into strategic communications, both internally and externally to the field, as well as to the public, that key stakeholder engagement, and then really focusing ourselves on our continued research and evaluation of this massive effort so that we can continue to identify best practices and disseminate those to the field in real time as we're examining them. So again, this gives you a highlight of where we are for math and English. Our implementation of remedial education reform for English as a second language is on a very different timeline. So we'll bring you some additional updates there. You've seen some of those updates in terms of the evaluations that we did last year of second party ESL placement vendor assessments. We are working this year on assessing and validating locally developed ESL placement assessments. And we will just begin this year the work of creating a process for validating the implementation of remedial education reform for ESL. So you'll get some additional updates on that as we continue with that work this year. And with that, we will stop and take any questions or comments.
Thank you. Yes, Board Member Aguinaldo.
Thank you very much, President Costa. First, thank you, Dr. Lowe and Dr. Hetz for this presentation. I have a couple questions since I'm not as big of a data geek as you guys are. I was hoping you would help me make sure that I'm understanding these slides correctly. So on the slides that Dr. Lowe presented, you mentioned there's been improvement. There's also been persistence in some kind of equity gaps. It also looks like they've plateaued. So my question is full implementation intended to disrupt that plateauing? My second question is to Dr. Hetz, and slide 13 talks about 167,902 post-cohort failures in math. If I did my math correctly, and if I'm understanding the numbers correctly, that's almost 10% of our student population, which sounds pretty big. So I'm wondering, what is the mechanism to capture those students and ensure that they have success? 10% is a lot.
Mine's a little more straightforward. So the important thing to understand about that is it's their experience across 2 years, right? So we're tracking their experience in mathematics for 2 years or their experience in English for 2 years. So a student may take multiple courses, make multiple attempts. So that's the first thing. It's not quite like within a window of a term or a year. It's across those students who start in math in a particular year, and we track them forward for 2 years. It's still an enormous amount of non-successful completions that we have. And that's part of the reason that the professional development that's going to be rolled out this year is focusing in particular on math, success in mathematics classrooms.
Right, so to build on that, Member Aguinaldo, so as you look at that number, you can't quite tie it back to an individual student, right? An individual student could have had multiple attempts, right? So it's a little messy to try to disaggregate. To your question, simple answer is yes, right? I would caution us to call it a plateau. We want to keep in mind the pandemic, right? We want to keep in mind the massive disruption to students' lives as well as to our campuses. The fact that our campuses have been able to retain that level of substantial change in the midst of this global pandemic is actually very significant, right? We would not have been surprised if we had actually seen a decline, right, in some of these outcomes given the effects of the pandemic. But the fact that we've maintained is actually fairly significant. But to your point, yes, right, the work moving forward is really focused in on where are those places where we still need to get over the hump. And really what you'll see in the work that we're moving forward in 2023, much more hands-on and sort of granular in terms of, much of what we have done in this reform is to tell colleges what they need to do. Now we're really going to lean into providing those models and resources and this is how you do it, right? To help those colleges that are still trying to get to full implementation, get over the hump, and to work on closing these gaps. And to your point, make sure that we continue to see these trends increase. So we're going to be a lot of focus on very hands-on tactical professional development and technical assistance to provide colleges with that more hands-on support of this is how you develop concurrent models. We've told them to do it, but you can do it in lots of different ways. But what does the research tell us about what concurrent models actually work and are effective, right? So we believe that as we close those gaps, it'll help us to close the equity gaps as well as see continued increases in these trends.
I look forward to seeing more data. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see Board Member Shaw, and then I'll go to Board Member Haynes.
Hi, this question, I thought I wasn't going to ask a question today, but I am. And this is to Vice Chancellor Lowe. In your slides, you showed a slide that sort of talked about the success rate of ethnic groups. So it looked like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like in those slides, it said that the students who identified as 2 races or more performed the worst. Now, you know, my question to you is why? And if we don't know why, then perhaps we need to look into why, because more and more students are identifying as multiracial. Now, you know, you and I know the history of African Americans in the nation, and, you know, all of us, we all, you know, we identify as Black, but, you know, we're 20, 30, 40%, probably, remember Haynes is 40% European. I'm 30%, 35%. So, but I identify as Black. So my question is this new group that are not identifying as 2 or more races, according to your slides, are doing very poorly, and I was wondering why.
No, that is a great question, Board Member Shaw. I will not attempt to speculate on that, right? Because there could be a myriad of reasons. So one, clarity, and the colors are hard to distinguish. So when we look at completion, looking at ethnic racial groups for completion, the 2 or more races is actually sort of middle of the pack. Where we see the lowest performance is unfortunately for Black African American students and Native American students in English. And then when we look at math, again, the students with 2 or more races, again, is sort of in the middle of the pack. And again, there for math, we see the lowest rates for African American students and Native American students. So still a valid question though, just in terms of comparatively, we certainly see those students with 2 or more races are there in the middle of the pack, and there's an equity gap there. And we know that a lot of the work, we believe, a lot of the work around closing these equity gaps is about having campus cultures and classroom cultures of acceptance and belonging, right? We know that part of what we're going to have to do to close those equity gaps is we need to attend to our students' social, emotional needs, and make sure that when they walk onto our campuses and they walk into our classrooms, in particular, our students of color who are already walking onto the campus under a subconscious veil of an identity threat, because they hold a personal identity that's already stereotyped to not belong, right? To not be able to achieve, to not be able to do well there. In some ways, we have to go above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that our students of color have a strong sense of acceptance, of belonging, that they are walking onto campuses and walking into classrooms where they feel loved. And I will say that word always in education, where they feel loved, they feel cared for, and they feel looked after, where we are pairing high expectations with high support. So that would be my answer. What do we need to do to close those gaps? We need to transform our cultures to be those sort of environments.
Thank you.
Hard to follow, but you're absolutely right on that. I have kind of 2 questions and they're kind of together. So did you or did you not test or gather information about which of the groups, I don't know how you gathered the information, were already using a co-requisite or co-current or in-class tutoring? Do we have any data on that and whether that made a difference?
Yeah, so we have some data on that. That's not available in this presentation. It is available on the transfer level gateway dashboard. It's a little bit complex because of how colleges have implemented, right? And so generally speaking, what we see is when you control for students' initial high school preparation, it has an impact. However, when you're just looking at the impact of co-requisite courses, that's sometimes complicated by who gets them. In just the same way previously that who gets assigned to prerequisite courses was confounded by high school preparation and student demographics. So generally speaking, what you see is that it has a beneficial effect. But what we haven't seen to date is a lot of evidence yet for different types of concurrent strategies being differentially effective or by students. There's a lot of complexity there that we are going to be pulling on for the next 2 to 8 years because it's a complex question, right? It's multivariate statistics is fun. And so these are things that we're going to be working on for a long time in the same way, Member Epstein, that you were talking about, like, how do we know whether or not enrollment strategies work? That's an incredibly complex question that we don't have lots of causal purchase on. that we're going to work with lots of partners to try and pull that apart.
But we will have an update before 8.
It will be a constant
helping you out
update.
here, Donna.
It'll be a constant update.
All right, because, and then there are a number of our colleges that haven't even dug into these co-requisites yet.
Correct.
And so it's not a lot of information. The other is as a, I don't want to say strategy because it's more than that, but as a alternative to traditional math, there are those who are talking about and they have already started moving statistics into the departments. And it's a double-edged sword. It is where it is to make certain that the students get what they need in terms of transferring. Much of that is applied to sociology or applied to what they're doing, and there's much more accessibility to it. I guess I'm going to ask you, John, you might not want to answer it. Do you believe that a strategy like that would be helpful relative to the success rates of those students? I know you want data to support that, but.
So we are working on collecting that data within our system.
Okay.
But there is a fair amount of pre-existing work in contextualized mathematics that
Yes.
suggests very powerfully that math in a context that's meaningful for the students tends to be more effectively learned by the student, maintained by the student. And there's other work in kind of STEM generally that is when you give students the context of their program before the general mathematics, they're much more likely to persist. So there's very good reason to expect that. So if you're asking about my belief based on the evidence, generally I believe that, but I don't have yet evidence to support that in our system.
Okay, well, I like your answer.
All right.
Thank you.
We have Board Member Rollins and then Board Member Epstein.
All right. So I'm wondering, maybe there isn't data here on this yet, or maybe you covered it in some of the webinars and things we've done. Specifically, I'm thinking about prior to AB 705, where we had a lot of remedial learning and below transfer level coursework. There was a lot of really dedicated one-on-one time with some of our students. And I'm wondering if there's data to, as we take a look at when they are moved into the transfer level and say they're in a co-requisite class, having the paraeducator, kind of lab technician, embedded tutor, however you might call it, the extra supports in the classroom and outside the classroom that create the more personalized support. Do we have data to show how successful that strategy is versus the students who maybe don't partake in that?
Okay. That's such a fascinating question. I have so many things to pull apart. Let me just say, generally speaking, yes, it's helpful. The challenge that we've always had with those interventions in our system is they were often in this kind of semi-voluntary place. And so the question always would be, who would take advantage of them? And so what you'd frequently see is the students most likely to take advantage of them were students kind of around the margin of a B+ A-. But the students for whom they were intended often wouldn't take advantage of them. And if then you put it into a required system, right, you have to do these things as part of your grade, it would actually hurt those students. So it's a very complicated answer. But generally speaking, that type of provision of support is effective, but we have to be very careful in its implementation. And one of the things that's happening right now, both AB 705 and the work, the legislation on supervised tutoring is designed specifically to open up that concurrent support opportunities at the transfer level. Previously, that work was typically focused below transfer level. Now we are opening that opportunity to make those concurrent supports available to students when they're starting or taking courses along the entire transfer level mathematics pathway.
Thank you, Board Member Epstein, and then Board Member Shpagin.
So my takeaway is that multivariate statistics is fun.
It is
That's
really
cheered.
fun. It's a little bit kind of like, you know, like when you start doing 5 dimensions, it's really challenging.
My question is, there's still quite a few laggards in the system. And, you know, we had to go out and, you know, support another piece of legislation to keep this moving. What are we doing about the colleges that have been resisting this for years and are not delivering the data or the action that we need?
No, that is a great question. So a couple of things. We are still very much operating in the space of carrots, right? So we're going to make good use of this investment from the state. That investment actually has a specific focus on the colleges that are lagging. And so part of it will be leaning in with those hands-on supports. And when I say hands-on, I mean hands-on, like we are working with particular vendors that we're establishing contracts with to give specific professional development. We're working on developing these resource teams that will help partner with those colleges. So a lot of hands-on support to say, we're going to come alongside you and help you close those gaps. But to the point, I think is underlying your question, there are sticks in our back pocket. We are not quite using them yet, but we are thinking about things like how do we, since this is a core goal, not just of the legislature, but of our system to close these gaps and ensure students are getting those opportunities for maximized success, how do we then connect that to funding opportunities, right? As a metric within various funding opportunities that the Chancellor's Office has the auspices to direct and things of that nature. But our focus right now is really on the carrots, right? How do we lean in? How do we give support? How do we come alongside those colleges and really sort of walk them through the additional changes that need to be made locally to close those gaps? And we hope, we believe that we'll be able to close the gaps there and not have to lean into consequences.
That's good, but yeah, I think there ought to be a real sense of urgency around this. As Dr. Head said, the data is so crystal clear and students are benefiting so much from this. But those that are, you know, have had 4 years already to start work, I mean, that haven't done it, I mean, the sticks need to be very visible to them.
Member Shabazzian?
On the theme of carrots, I'm glad to see the $64 million investment in professional development to try to make some more headway. Obviously, the equity gaps are concerning to see that that's still there. And our board in the past has had learning sessions on holistic support. And we have been working in many ways on providing holistic support campus-wide. But I want to ask that we consider opportunities to bring holistic support specifically to these transfer level courses so that you know, we're addressing the socio, I'm going to try to say that phrase that you said, the psychosocial, emotional needs of our students in the classroom so that it's not a voluntary thing that they may or may not feel like they should go seek out transfer level courses. I think there are models of programs where there's an integration between the level course and the counselor, the counseling department or counseling class that's tied with that. In some cases, a social worker is available in the classroom again, identifying students who might benefit from that to work through, you know, whatever other things are going on in their lives that are preventing them from success. And I think that that kind of holistic model is more likely to address some of these equity gaps. That we would explore that further.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, I think member Escobar Carrillo's hand is raised.
Thanks so much. I know people probably want to wrap this up, but I had one question because I heard you all mention it a couple times in passing, which was the data related to, I guess Latino students and Puente and its success in, in I guess creating, engendering success amongst our students. But I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about that, if you had more information about it, because I heard you mention it twice in passing. So I was just curious what you were referring to in terms of like, if their model is working really well, maybe others can learn from it. Communities are different, so maybe it won't work. The interventions won't work with everyone, but just interesting to see that some of the stats that I saw where you were, I think, referring to Puente students and their success.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that's really remarkable about what the Puente program has done is they the way that the program used to be structured was very focused on bringing in students and supporting them below transfer level. So you may have noticed that there, I think it was English, that Puente students previously, 8% of them started at transfer level in English. And they've completely transformed their approach to supporting those students. And the outcomes for students in Puente in both English and math have been very effective. So they already had a very effective support program for students. And what they've done is they've set aside the structure that used to be holding back the success of that program. And we're able to adapt to thinking about how to better support students at transfer level. That has enormously accelerated the success of students in that program. And so it's really a fantastic example of having good practice that existed within the previous structure and taking that good practice and translated it into a better structure that's more supportive of students.
Yes, and just to add to that, we do have a partnership with Puente through our IPI division, where we have a number of communities of practice where the practitioners in Puente are training other faculty on their values, their norms, right? What is this environment that they provide for students? What are the supports that they provide for students? So that's a partnership that we'll continue to invest in.
Well, that's great. I mean, and I just to board member Epstein's point about, you know, we just got to get people moving on this. I mean, it sounds like the Puente example is an example where maybe folks aren't, you know, they need to just go all in on the idea and trust the ideas that, you know, we were pushing forward, right? And it actually, it's just a matter of changing the mindset maybe, but and using the same tools that you had in place, but maybe changing the mindset. It's good to know that you're engaging with them and helping them also, you know, share their story with others. And I'd love to learn more about it. I may follow up with you offline.
Great, thank you. Board member Medina.
Great presentation. If I could have it in the future, because to all that naysayers, I want to make sure that, you know, show that presentations show that AB 705 does work. I'm very confident that AB 1705 will work in the future. But great job you're both doing, and your staff and your team over at Chancellor's Office.
Thank
you. Do we have any public comments?
The public comment period for item 5.3 is now open. We will start with public remarks in Sacramento, then move on to virtual comments. For virtual attendees, please utilize the raise hand feature. If you are calling in, press *9. You will have 2 minutes. I will hand it over to Vice President Aguinaldo for public comments in Sacramento.
Thank you very much. We have 2 requests from public comment from folks who are very familiar with this process. Jenny May and Wendy Brillwine, please approach the podium.
All right, hi, hello again. I'm Jenny May, Academic Senate President of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. So I'd like to start my comments off with a growth mindset by commending the practitioners in our colleges, especially the counselors, the English, math, ESL, and reading instructors who work the closest with students for their dedication and efforts to implement AB 705 with integrity and a student-centered approach. Many students have benefited from the new placement mandate. There was never any debate that if more students were placed in transfer level courses, that more students would pass transfer level courses. For clarity, the ASCCC is not suggesting nor advocating that assessment and placement processes go back to pre-AB 705 requirements. On the contrary, we fully support access to transfer level coursework for all students. The ASCCC advocates for and encourages full and comprehensive data collection and analyses so that faculty can meet the needs of every single student. Equity gaps persist, and so we have work to do. Although some continue to claim that faculty have only started to care about the needs of 100% of the students since AB 705, nearly 20 years of history, and I believe more, show that faculty continuously explore and implement multiple evidence-based strategies as opposed to a single method to improve student outcomes to meet the needs of every student.
30 seconds.
Especially those from disproportionately impacted populations that may benefit from additional opportunities. From the Chancellor's Office Basic Skills Initiative, the Student Success Task Force recommendations, to SB 1456 for the Student Success Act of 2012. Faculty, working with system stakeholders and practitioners, researched and implemented many evidence-based programs with the goal of meeting specific student needs. Yet funding was not sustainable to bring those programs to scale. I bring to you a resolution from the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. Resolved that the Academic Senate work with the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office and Board of Governors by providing its advice and judgment in the formation of state policies and related implementation guidance for determining whether pre-transfer level mathematics and English courses may be appropriate to meet the needs of a defined student population in order to achieve the broader community college mission. Data from 2 reports from the Public Policy Institute of California indicate there are populations to explore. Thank you for your consideration.
Good afternoon, Wendy Brill Weincoop, President of the Faculty Association of the California Community Colleges. We want to acknowledge the work many practitioners have put into both AB 705 and AB 1705. These have been transformational initiatives that have had many positive impacts on many of our students. However, we can't ignore the many students who have seen one barrier possibly replaced with another due to this legislation. For example, PPIC found that in the co-requisite model of remediation, quote, only 16% of students initially unsuccessful in transfer level English successfully completed college composition a year later. Is 16% better than the scaffolded approach? We can do better, and this percentage isn't satisfactory. The PPIC found the percentage of students who completed the co-requisite model of transfer level English dropped in 2019-20 from 58% to 53%. Students need more funding and basic needs to attend college full time, and the co-requisite model of remediation is demanding on their time. As we implement AB 1705, we need to be mindful and deliberate in collecting comprehensive data on its unintended consequences. One size fits all approach is not an equitable approach. It may leave many of our students behind. FAC has and will continue to propose solutions to ensure that 100% of our students have tools to succeed. This includes implementing embedded tutoring, having smaller class sizes, focus on faculty professional development, and capturing comprehensive data. Thank you.
Thank you both. With that, do we have any virtual comments on the program?
President Costa, we do not have any hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. So I was so excited to hear the next item that I skipped ahead, but you can stay there, Dr. Lowe. So item 5.4, the Rising Scholars Network Program.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. I remain Aisha Lowe, Vice Chancellor of Education Services and Supports. And we will be joined by some guests for this item. So really excited to bring you this informational item on the Rising Scholars Network program and the amazing work that our system is doing to support our currently informally incarcerated students. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the Rising Scholars Network. This is a set of burgeoning work in the state and within our system where we are focused on justice-involved students, whether they are currently incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, and having programs specifically designed for those students. And this really is an opportunity to disrupt the cycles of mass incarceration that are unfortunately prevalent in our country and in our state. And to truly lean into what is at least an idea supposed to be an opportunity for rehabilitation for students that find themselves justice involved. So on the next slide, we do have a brief video that we will show that gives you an overview of the Rising Scholars Program. And we'll tell you more about that work. And then I will be joined by Rebecca Silbert, who's the Senior Director of Rising Scholars with both the Foundation for California Community Colleges as well as the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
The Rising Scholars Network is a network of programs
pause for a moment of technical difficulty.
We're gonna make you guys do interpretive dance. It's always hard to do videos on Zoom.
Out the state of California that support.
My apologies. I have a new computer and the speakers are not working correctly at the moment. So if you want to move forward and I can work on that, we can always go back to the video.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. We could hear it. We were able to hear it.
Oh, okay. Woo, that's a good point. Or, excuse me, I will go ahead and play it again.
The reentry for formerly incarcerated students. A lot of students have different types of trauma from their past, and then some are going through trauma in the present, and others are dealing with different situations that are very difficult and non-conducive to being a student. Just because you made some mistakes in the past, it's not over. You can at any time make a decision to choose a different path, different direction for your life, and that it's all up to you on what you want to do. You should come to community college if you're interested in relaunching your life, or if you're interested in making new contacts and networks like I did, or if you're interested in learning things that you never had a clue about like I did. It takes a level of perseverance, but once you dig down deep, and you'll find perseverance that you didn't even know you had.
I have the privilege and the honor of serving students that have been incarcerated. I've been locked up, I'm in recovery, I dropped out of school 3 times. When I came to a community college, it was the first time I ever encountered somebody that was teaching that cared. Right? And I'm in a PhD program, all because I went to a community college. When you come to the Rising Scholars Program, it's our job to uplift you, to provide possibilities.
It's important to start planning now because there's a lot of steps that you're gonna have to take, and you wanna decrease the amount of steps that you have to take once you're out, and make it a seamless process from getting out, getting into college, and getting into your classes.
I thought all I could be was a drug and alcohol counselor because of my gun cases or my drug cases, and because I had been incarcerated and I couldn't even get a job, thinking, what am I really gonna do? Because no one's gonna hire me. And I think as I've got educated, I've got the ability to defend myself in these spaces.
We have a relationship with our county public defender's office. We clean records. We have a partnership with another program that helps people get jobs. We set you up with another program that helps with financial credit coaching and counseling. It's a good place to network and find out what your options are. It's a good springboard to other opportunities.
What happened back then is something you'll carry with you, but where you go from here is something that will mold you. And to be in a PhD program, all because I went to a community college, right? All because they taught me what I needed to learn, you know, all because they believed in what I could accomplish. And I think that's my story, right? That's why I believe in them. I want you to know that when you come home, we got you. We're here for you. Whatever your dreams are, our goals are to help you get those.
So hopefully you were inspired by that video, seeing some of our rising scholars, and you heard the scholar talking about how he is now in a doctoral program and how our colleges was the place they came to transform their lives. So to share a little bit more about the Rising Scholars Network, the amazing work that our colleges are doing, I will have Rebecca Silbert here to share some information with you, and then we will hear from 2 colleges that are leading these programs and the amazing work that they're doing to transform lives. Rebecca.
Thank you. Can we do next slide, please? And I think immediately, next slide. Thank you. Good afternoon, President Costa, Vice President. I am Rebecca Silbert, and I'm thrilled to talk about the Rising Scholars Program. We have some slides. I'm going to skip through some of them very quickly so that we can get to the good part, which is the colleges and the students. But you can always ask questions after. The Rising Scholars Network is a network of colleges that are reaching students and disrupting the cycle everywhere we can find students. That's in the community. It's before students are involved with the criminal justice system. It's when they're at risk. It's when they come home. It's in county jails, youth facilities, and prisons. So I want to take 20 seconds to drop a footnote with you. Very, very quick primer on criminal justice, which is that jails and youth facilities are county entities. So it's the county sheriff, it's run by the board of supervisors, 58 different county jail systems, 58 different youth facilities, all of which look very different. And of course, as you know, there's 72 districts that don't always line up with the county borders. The state prison system, which is the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CDCR, that's students who have been sentenced, who are serving a term. So jails, you might get students who are there for 2 weeks, 2 days, 6 months, 8 months, maybe 2 years, but they haven't been sentenced, so they don't know. So there's a lot of uncertainty there, but there's a lot more flexibility, and it's the students from that community. State prison system has students who are there for some period of time, but in the state of California, we move students to prisons that are generally quite far. We build our prisons where, in more rural, far north, the valley, the desert, and 60% of those students are coming back to the greater Los Angeles area, so they're far from home. That means that the colleges have different ways in interacting with the students, and it means that we see of the Rising Scholars colleges a very localized opportunity to serve students depending on what's near you. Maybe you have a jail and a youth facility, maybe you have a prison, maybe you have a lot of formerly incarcerated students, but the colleges are all part of the network. Next slide, please. I'm going to race you through the history of this because I think some of you have heard about it for a long time, but I want to point out, because this is sort of the magic of the community colleges. In 2014, a law passed by Hancock that allowed the community colleges to teach face-to-face in state prison and to receive a portion. Now, before that, they could teach in jail, that was fine. They could have programs on campus, that was fine, but it wasn't really happening. There were pockets here and there. Santa Barbara City College had a little program. Shasta College was doing a CTE intervention program. Chaffey was doing something small, but they didn't know of each other and it was all in the shadows. What happened when the colleges were able to go into state prison and start teaching face-to-face in prison, the groundswell of that combined with student activism, it really was student-led. And all across the state of California, we started having students stand up and say, I'm here. I've been here, we've all been here, but now I'm here and I'm letting you know I'm here and I want to be served. And the colleges really stepped up and the work actually grew before the funding came. So there was one time $5 million that went to 44 colleges in 2018. But for example, Cypress College didn't get that grant, but did a program anyway and did amazing. So it really was led until we get to 2020 when the advisory committee, after a year of ground sourcing names, talking to students, a lot of outreach from the folks that are now the regional coordinators, the deans in the office, we decided on the name Rising Scholars. And that moment really brought it all together and pulling together the guiding principles, which are available to you on the board docs. Take a look if you're interested. They sort of track they track the other initiatives in the chancellor's office to really reach student success to help the colleges. Leading to in 2021, Senator McCarthy finally established Rising Scholars as a categorical program, recognizing again that, as you'll hear from Palomar, most of the colleges were already doing the work to their great credit and ongoing funding. Next slide, please. So there are now 80 colleges in the network. We're serving, 62 of them have on-campus programs. We're serving all of the state prisons, almost all of the county jails and youth detention centers. Now, most of these colleges are doing multiple things because they might have a youth facility near them and an on-campus program, or a jail and youth, or a prison and also on campus. They're really reaching out and doing what works for them. Next slide, please. The funding has followed the great work. So the 10 million ongoing from 2021 has been allocated in grants. That was a huge push for the chancellor's office, and Dr. Lowe and Dean Woodyer really worked hard to get those out. And there's another 15 million coming for youth justice program that's in process now. Next slide. The successes have been phenomenal. for a program that is relatively new, for a program that started without funding and really has been deeply mission driven. And these numbers that you're seeing here, this is through the pandemic. So even through the pandemic, this was an area where the mission driven nature of it led to student success. It's not perfect. It's, you know, as has been mentioned earlier today, as with all things, there's more work to do, but the combination of Chancellor's Office leadership and the regional coordinators out in the field, and I do want to call out the regional coordinator model, because what that allows to happen is there's always policy and there's initiative and there's leadership and then there's implementation. And to have folks in the field that can listen to a college and say, oh, you have such and such a problem, this other college solved the problem this way, that might also work for you. It has been very effective in moving the colleges forward and helping them overcome the hurdles in whatever way works for them. Next slide. I want to point out one quick example of a success that was with the assistance of the Chancellor's Office and the regional coordinators. This is a jail, so it's a county jail at Santa Clara County Jail with multiple colleges. You may note, the system, these are multiple districts. And I believe someone earlier today did mention, I think I heard the word territoriality at some point. These are colleges coming together for one group of students to make a variety, to work together, to give students choice in a situation where students would not otherwise have that choice. And it's something that traditionally has been challenging in the system, but for these students, they've come together and made it work. Next slide. So this is my last slide. I'm going to take just a few minutes to talk about CDCR because that I do wear the two hats here, and then I'm going to kick it over to the colleges. So CDCR, as I said, is the state prison system. A couple of things to notice, and to when you hear about it or talk about it, in California, unlike in most states, our state budget includes money that goes directly to CDCR for all of the CT. That's historic. It dates, I found it back as early as the early 80s, and I don't know when it started. So when the colleges started going into CDCR, it was really just academic transfer pathways because all of those CTE courses are being offered by their own staff, their own unit and their own budget and everything else. But the colleges really doubled down on AET. And so there are all these ways in which what the community colleges are doing in CDCR absolutely mirrors everything that's also happening in the system, except we have 10,000 students instead of 1 million. We have 20 colleges instead of 116, and 2 UCs and 5 CSUs. That video that you saw is part of a 30-minute video. Definitely not going to make anyone sit through a 30-minute video. Should you wish to, it is also on the website. That video pulls out clips from a number of Salary Surfer videos, which were a series of CTE videos that the Chancellor's Office did pre-pandemic. We pulled 7 of them just to have a variety. So the video talks about transfer, as you saw, both Joe Louise, who's at Mount Sac, and Susan Laney have transferred in their own career before they came back to the colleges. But it talks about the CTE programs that are available on the outside, available when you come home. That's why the video says when you come home, we got you. It plays actually twice a day, every day, twice a day on one of the internal CDCR television channels. And it has a section on credit for prior learning, because here's an example where you have 90,000 people in CDCR, 20 to 30,000 of them have taken CTE classes that are on certified pathways. But when they come home, they can now use those classes they took in CDCR using credit for prior learning to increase their education. So it's a perfect match for what's happening in the system at large. OER, right? We can't charge students for books. If they have a job, they're making 19 cents an hour, and they have to pay for everything else like toothpaste. So working with the Faculty Senate, working with all the faculty to really make sure we're using OER in a much smaller environment, it's much more workable, turned out, with 10,000 students than with 2 million. It's not easy. The community colleges are serving 10,000 students in CDCR. It's about 10% of the entire prison population. It's the second largest program in all of CDCR. All of the other education in CDCR is open entry, open exit, and completion or achievement based. right? So because students are moving constantly all the time. So when you overlay a system that works on semesters with one that's open entry, open exit, it doesn't think about time. When you overlay a system that is working on, grades and finals and Title V with one that's not, it can be trying of the patients. And I would say that the 20 colleges doing it have really stepped up, and you'll hear from College of the Redwoods in just a minute. But it really has forced the colleges to think. So College of the Redwoods, for example, is on a level 4 yard at Pelican Bay. When they have students who are doing really well because of education, you get transferred down to RJD prison, which is Southwestern College down by the border. We need to make sure that those credits transfer. We need to make sure those students don't have to start from scratch. So that's why you see these high numbers for ABTs, and they're just getting higher. The funding that you saw, the increases in students, it really is a function of the leadership of the Chancellor's office, of Vice Chancellor Lowe, the dean and individual coordinators. The pulling together of the mission-driven colleges and leadership is what is allowing the students to be certain. We certainly have room to grow. We can always do better, but to now be doing something that is different than any other state. I've given speechified in various other states. Nobody else is doing this. Where we're as a state, we're looking at over incarceration, we're looking at mass incarceration. We're saying, you know what? We're going to use this amazing existing state resource, our public higher education system, and we're just going to pick it up and we're going to plop it on top of the criminal justice system as a way to fix the situation that we're in, as a way to provide opportunity for someone. And from top to bottom, jail to formerly incarcerated to youth to prison, we're just going to make sure that this educational opportunity is available everywhere. California is the only state doing that, and the only state with this huge partnership with these gigantic state agencies. And I think we really have a lot to do.
Thank you, Rebecca. We are going to have our colleagues from College of the Redwoods join us and take over the space here so that we can hear directly from them about the amazing work that they are doing. I'll turn over to you all to introduce yourselves and we'll get started.
Right. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be before you this afternoon. My name is Roy Johnson. I'm a dean at College of the Redwoods. I primarily supervise the administrative functions of our Del Norte Education Center, which is a satellite campus to our primary campus in Humboldt County, and of course the Pelican Bay Scholars Program, Pelican Bay State Prison residing in Del Norte County as well. And
hello, everyone. Tori Eagles. I am the CR Pelican Bay Scholars Program Coordinator. So I have the honor of going in regularly and working with the guys to help ensure that they have all the tools to be successful in a college program. Later, we'll be hearing from one of our students, Tabitha Wilson, in a pre-recorded video that was done. And Tabitha is a College of Redwoods Pelican Bay Scholars graduate. He's from the San Diego area, raised by a single mother of 4 children. Tabitha was incarcerated at the age of 19 and has spent 23 years within the prison system, which is more than half of his life. So he has some great insight and such as far as being a student that's directly impacted by our program.
next slide, please. Okay, so we've assembled a variety of different talking points, just to give you an update kind of on our program, where it started, where it's at, and some of the things that we've done to ensure that our students inside are receiving the same chance at an education as our students on campus. So even though things don't always look the same, there's a very strategic thought process that goes into every single thing that we do. As the slide shows, we started our program in spring of 2016. So after the passage of SB 1391, we went to work a group of faculty, staff, and administrators, a task force to to exchange information and collaborate with CDCR and specifically the administrators at Pelican Bay State Prison to start looking at what does a face-to-face community college program look like in a maximum security prison, because nobody knew. So through the course of about a year, a little more than a year, we developed an MOU. And then in the spring of 2016, as we were developing that schedule, we basically just put out a call out. Who wants to teach at Pelican Bay? And so we had one faculty member say, I'll give it a shot. And so she went in, she taught that first course, a cohort of 21 students. And at that time, 2016, we had one degree option that we had kind of settled on as a degree. That was a liberal arts degree in behavioral and social science with the CSU GE transfer. And from there, between then and now, this last 7 years, we've developed the program into, on average, 20 faculty teaching per semester, about 45 courses a semester. We've got about 484 students, as you know, as with any community college, tracking how many students you have today and how many you had yesterday is not always, is very rarely the same number. So, and we have 5 degree options. One of those currently is an ADT in sociology. We also have ADTs in psychology and communication studies coming right away. We've got everything in place. It's just a matter of offering that next set of courses. And then we have the three liberal arts degrees, and we just started an Associate of Science in Social Work and Human Services. We're hoping to see an addiction studies certificate come along with that at some point. And then we also have started the implementation with Rising Scholars Funds, trying to find a full-time business faculty member to help us develop a small business entrepreneurial business degree and certificate. Most of these that we're coming from are coming from a space of what are the students looking at? What do they want? What do they envision their life outside looking like after they're done with their time in CDCR. Next slide, please. So the big one here, this question of, how is Rising Scholars work aligned with the greater vision of our college? It's intimately aligned. From our mission and vision statement, values and philosophy statements, our newly adopted education master plan, our annual institutional plans, and of course, our student diversity, equity, and inclusion work. We keep Pelican Bay as part, our students at Pelican Bay as part of that conversation at all times. So when we're developing these philosophies and statements that we make that talk about who we are, and when I say we, I mean the district, not Tori and I. This is a district collaborative that is embracing this student body as a critical and vital part of our district. That's where they reside, is in our district, and it's our responsibility to provide them with this education. And so when you look at our different statements, I'm not going to read them all to you. I had some quotes pulled, but I'm not going to go down and talk about each of those, but hopefully you'll trust me when I say that this is a central part of what we do as College of the Redwoods. We have support from the Academic Senate, from our staff and faculty unions, from, of course, the administration, our board of trustees. Basically, every group across campus asks how can they be involved and how can they help. Next slide. So, if you look here, this slide is pretty straightforward in what data it's showing us. This is the number of graduates that we've had each year in progression. Obviously, the first 2 years we didn't have graduates. It's a 2-year degree, although most of our students don't finish in 2 years. Those first 2 students that we had in 2018, 2019 had courses from a community college previously, either prior to incarceration or during incarceration through correspondence classes and things of that nature. And then we started rising. you'll see a big jump there in 2021. We have a number of things coming together at that point. One was time, right? Just time on mission. Students have had time to take those classes. One of those things was the hiring, actually not hiring yet, that came the next year. A collaboration with another community college that had a robust correspondence program to offer communication studies courses to our students in select cohorts. So we'd say, hey, we've got these 19 students, they need comm to graduate. Can you offer them these guys right here, your course? And so they did that. We purchased the textbooks for them, that sort of thing. And then we hired our own communication studies instructor the following year. Another thing that is really important to point out is that we track each of our students individually at any given time. I can reach out to Tori and say, hey, how many students need English 1A to graduate? And she can answer that question because of the data that she keeps. So every semester when we're building our schedule, we look at what do our students need on A yard or B yard or on D yard. And so we make sure that we're scheduling in the courses that they need to progress and not just throwing a random assortment of courses and hoping that someday we'll get graduates. Next slide. Okay, the demographics here, not a surprise probably to anybody what these numbers look like. Pelican Bay has a larger population, as it shows there, of Hispanic and Latino men, as opposed to some of our other demographic groups. But what I think is also important, is that 55% of our students are parents. 83% of them want to follow up their community college experience with a bachelor's degree. We have 28% were foster youth, 2% are veterans. Nearly 70% of our students will get out. And 68% of our students achieved their high school diploma while incarcerated. Next slide. And here, for the sake of time, I just want to reiterate that what we do is very strategic and what we're thinking about. We look at our policies and procedures and how we implement those things. And we find a way to make sure that, again, our students at Pelican Bay are receiving equivalent services, even if they don't look the same. When we hire people, we're at this point, especially if they're working at the Del Norte Center where I work, we're hiring for our center and the prison. We're not just hiring. So if we hire a new faculty member, their assignment will be at both places. So they know going in that they're applying for a job where they would be working in a prison face-to-face with our students. I mentioned before that the district and that most of the people who work for us are invested and interested in this program, even if they're not directly assigned to it. One of our instructional support specialists who works at the prison and works a lot with Tori, week before last, hurt her arm getting ready for the semester, moving books around. We have to deliver our books all over the prison. And so we have a custodian who stepped in, who we asked, hey, would you help? We need some muscles to help move some things or heavy things around the prison. And so we have a custodian at the prison the last couple of weeks, helping Tori and Courtney, who's the injured one, move these things around. So he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't know what I'm doing, but you don't need to. You just need to have a good attitude and be willing to help. So, really the way we've approached this is the district needs to do it. We have the people in the day-to-day work, but what Rising Scholars has allowed us to do is one more element of communication, one more thing to show, look, this is real. It's not going anywhere. And that support of this being in legislation and having the support of the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors really helps us emphasize that to our colleagues on campus. So that's all for me. We can answer questions later, but next up we got Tori.
Yes. So now we're going to hear from our student, Lee Wilson.
When I first came to prison wasn't really a place that was conducive to learning as far as education. It wasn't really something that you saw. It was pretty much frowned upon. But so it was a long journey for me to get to the point where I even felt comfortable with enrolling in college. But fast forward a bit, I landed in Pelican Bay in 2015 after just finishing another SHU term. And I had just found out that I needed to do things differently. And I had a cellie by the name of Larry Vickers, who was already enrolled in college. And he used to just talk to me about it. And I already had my high school diploma, so I knew that I could go to college. I just had never thought about it. But through interacting with him and seeing his progress, it just made me want to give it a shot myself. So College of the Redwoods, I came to this institution, the opportunity presented itself, and I decided to take advantage of it. And initially, I was probably more nervous than the teachers. I didn't really know what to expect. But coming into the classroom environment, it was just welcoming. It felt like one of the first real human experiences I had during this time incarcerated. The teachers came with open minds. They really wanted to give us an opportunity to learn. So they allowed us to ask questions and debate and figure things out as we went along. And it just made the whole environment smoother. Prison in of itself became different with these programs landed in this institution. We've been doing a lot of work in here trying to prepare ourselves for eventual reentry into society. And I know a lot of people you guys don't really deserve these opportunities. You don't deserve to have this education. And I would say maybe we don't. But what I do believe is that the communities we come from deserve, for when we are released, they deserve us to come back to a community that we took from and be able to give something back to it. And I believe the only way we'll be able to do that is through education and through these programs that these rehabilitative programs that we participate in. Without these programs and without this education, it's gonna just be an ongoing cycle. And if we really want to end this cycle, end this mass incarceration, the key is more programs.
Right, next slide.
Okay, so I'll wrap things up for you guys today with the question of what's next. And also thanking the Board of Governors, the Chancellor's Office, Rising Scholars, everyone that's a part of our community support, including Project Rebound programs, in an effort to address literary disparities within California. Also, let's not stop here. Students like Tabiti and the 10,000 or more other students that are incarcerated within the California system, it's important to help them be successful for their futures, for their communities, for everyone that's involved, which all of us are impacted by incarceration, and equally we're impacted by supporting the students. So thank you.
Very much. Our colleagues, my colleagues from the Redwoods, we're gonna have our colleague from Palomar join us. Next slide, please. And share with us about the Palomar College Rising Scholars Program. And then we'll have opportunities board for your questions and comments. Introduce yourselves, please.
Good afternoon, Board of Governors and Interim Chancellor, Dr. Daisy Gonzalez. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Lowe, for the introduction and for the opportunity to talk about our program. It's been an honor to work for the Rising Scholars Program at Palomar College and to support the Transitions Collective student group. I'm happy to be here. Program alumni Luis Jimenez is also here, and in a few minutes, he'll talk about how Rising Scholars contributed to his success. But first, I will share a bit about the program. Next slide, please. In 2018, a formerly incarcerated Santa Barbara City College graduate named Martin Leva approached Palomar College to see if we might be interested in starting a program for this underrepresented population. Palomar College immediately agreed. In the last 5 years, our on-campus program has included over 200 students, and recent growth has been significant. Mr. Leyva has become Professor Leyva and is one of our incredibly supportive faculty members who helps our students transition from incarceration to education and beyond. In 2019, we received Rising Scholars seed funding, and in 2022, Rising Scholars awarded us a 3-year grant. These funds also cover our program held in the Vista Detention Facility, which also began in 2018. Next slide. Our jail program offers students a rotation of general education credit classes. Inmate workers or trustees also enroll as Palomar students and earn credit for their kitchen and janitorial work. To date, we've had about 200 duplicated students in the jail program, one of whom is shown here. Edgar Diaz earned 25 Palomar College credits while at the Vista Jail. After serving his time, Edgar continued his studies with us, maintained straight A's, finished his associate's degree, and is transferring to a university. Next slide, please. On campus, students come to us throughout the academic year, and we guide them to resources for onboarding and more. They also become a part of a thriving community of formerly incarcerated students and peer mentors who meet at least once a week. In addition, we have a popular 8-week summer program where up to 25 students take 2 classes together as a cohort. Thanks to a $50,000 grant from the San Diego District Attorney's Office and funding from the Palomar College Foundation, students visit UCSD, Cal State San Marcos, regional cultural centers, and more. Our Rising Scholars Grant is integral to our success. Whether students enroll in our summer program or during the academic year, we're able to provide wraparound services to students and even help with basic needs. Campus and community partnerships are vital, and peer mentors are the heart of our program. These federal work study peer mentors work closely with students and help them navigate in and out of school challenges. Our peer mentors also provide critical modeling since most of them have been incarcerated and all are excelling academically. Next slide. Palomar College understands that Rising Scholars is about equity and access, and that our program encapsulates the very essence of community college. Here, students get another chance to remap their lives. Our campus and community partners consistently demonstrate their commitment to our Rising Scholars. Our recently elected sheriff met with campus leadership to voice her belief in our program. Our County Board of Supervisors gave our summer program completers certificates of achievement. Across campus, faculty, staff, administration, and students are building an on-campus home for our program, the building you see on this slide. Right now, cabinetry and furniture technology students and the professor are working with our facilities department and faculty in architecture and interior design programs to renovate this building. Starting this semester, students will be able to visit this beautiful new center to have quiet study time, to grab a sandwich, and to meet with a peer mentor. In addition to providing this dedicated space, Palomar College has changed its priority enrollment policy to include Rising Scholar students. Also, our Human Resources Department is looking at its hiring policy for formerly incarcerated students, faculty, staff alike. When I think about this support, I credit our students. Our students share their powerful stories, and just about everyone who listens becomes an ally. Next slide. Students also tell their stories to friends and neighbors, and this contributes to the program growth shown on this slide. As you can see, our students are mostly male, but when you consider that 93% of incarcerated people identify as men, the number of women in our program is significant. Likewise, 9% of our students are African American, which is significantly higher when compared to Palomar's overall student demographics. Also, with so many of our program participants being men of color, we are addressing an equity gap that has historically challenged higher education institutions. These equity,
next slide.
These equity gaps are at the core of the California Community College vision for success and its goals, and our program realizes those objectives. Goal number 1, for example, talks about the need to prepare students for in-demand jobs. As you can see in this headline, we are addressing a critical need for more behavioral health workers. For goals 2 and 3, we make sure students meet with counselors to create and revisit their education plans and take the right classes to transfer quickly. We also consider Cal State San Marcos Project Rebound to be an extension of our own program, and so far, 9 of our students have transferred there. For goal number 4, criminal backgrounds prevent many of our students from gaining meaningful employment and building their careers of choice. We are able to work within education code to provide students with valuable work experience. And off campus, our addiction counseling students work at recovery centers and are often promoted as they complete coursework and certificates. These credentials also enable students to support themselves if and when they decide to pursue a bachelor's degree. Last but certainly not least, since formerly incarcerated students are traditionally underrepresented, our program inherently addresses equity gaps. Next slide, please. Now it's time to hear from one of our former students, Luis Jimenez. Before joining our program in 2020, Luis had been a Palomar College and MiraCosta student off and on for 9 years. Luis's transformation from community college to UCLA was captured in the film Almost Home: Life After Incarceration, a project undertaken by Palomar College Television. Our own professional media services department has won multiple Emmys and other awards for its previous documentaries, and we're excited about this film being distributed later this year. Thank you, Luis, for taking time from your busy schedule as a single parent and a UCLA student to be with us today.
Thank you for having me here. Rising Scholars and the Transitions Collective Student Group came at a time in my life when I had given up on myself and my education. When I began attending the community college, there was no program to support what society would deem the worst of the worst, a felon or a criminal. The feeling of alienation was extreme, especially in introductory courses where my peers talked about having been on the debate team or taking AP classes throughout high school. What was I supposed to say? I ran the streets, drank, and smoked dope throughout high school. This scenario repeated itself every semester, and at times, the feeling of not belonging almost pushed me out. Why didn't I quit, you may ask? For one, I found loving and caring faculty at Palomar College who looked beyond my past and helped me see my potential. Second, my education has always been communal. I cannot let my Escondido community down. With that said, after roaming the Palomar and MiraCosta Community College for about a decade, sociology professor Dr. Taoha found the missing piece to my college success. She told me then that I needed a community, and that community was at Palomar Rising Scholars. During that 2020 summer cohort, I knew I was home as soon as I logged into the Zoom call, where I could freely talk about my lived experiences and past and continued struggles without being demonized. Even the professor looked and talked like me, significantly impacting where I would go next. I only needed 3 classes to transfer, and I almost gave up that opportunity. Thanks to the unconditional love and support from both faculty and my fellow peers from Rising Scholars, I made it to UCLA. Being a peer mentor gave me purpose. My homie Steven Dykes, who passed away about a year ago, would always tell me, it's about motivating others, big dog, through our education and helping them see that if I did it, they could too. He was right, because that became my purpose, inspiring others through my education. One of my biggest challenges has been sobriety, which I have openly shared with the Transitions Collective students during our weekly Friday check-ins. Having voiced this allowed my mentees to connect with me on a deeper personal level. And just because I am ahead of them, it doesn't mean that I cannot learn from them. This is something that Professor Martin Leva always tells his class. Because of that, they also became my mentors, helping me escape neo relapses and helping me get back up in my lowest moments. Sometimes we get so caught up in life, we forget why we do things. My mentees and every member of the Rising Scholars community helped me to remind myself why I started this college team, which was to help others liberate themselves from the streets and addiction. The Palomar culture is unique. No institution has ever taken a leap of faith in me like Palomar. They gave me another chance, but more than that, they believed in me and helped me find that community I had longed for all through my academic journey. I have no doubt Palomar will do the same with my peers. Richie, for example, got a job after being denied employment for years at Palomar College, and he was at the right, the picture on the right on the slide. Most importantly, Palomar is helping transform what is intergenerationally passed down. Our drug use, for example, was once intergenerational, but now It is liberation through education that will become intergenerational. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luis. And before they transition, if we could just give them a round of applause. Continuing to do, we really appreciate it. Really to close out this item, we're going to have Vice President of the Academic Senate join us, Cheryl Achenbach, to talk about how faculty are really helping our scholars to rise. You've heard from Luis about the way a faculty member, right? As I said earlier, I didn't pay him to say that. I didn't know what he's going to say, right? But as I said, we talked earlier about love and belonging and how faculty are so core to bringing that love and belonging that can help students transform their lives. So Cheryl's going to talk to us about how the Academic Senate is partnering in this very important work.
Thanks, Dr. Lowe. You took my first lines pointing out that you've heard throughout these presentations the role of faculty and how their care, the compassion, the trigger that they light under somebody that says I can go do something has been critical to lives. Faculty have been very included in these Rising Scholars efforts, and I'm really proud of the work that the Academic Senate has been doing. From the very start of the Chancellor's Office Rising Scholars Advisory Committee, we have had faculty representation. And so they were part of laying the groundwork and setting the mission and those guiding principles that you've seen. More recently, we have worked to communicate with faculty throughout the system to share information about Rising Scholars. So taking what's from the advisory committee out, and even more significantly, and I really want to credit the work of Rebecca Silbert, creating opportunities for faculty to support faculty and develop professional development. It is not the same to walk into an incarcerated classroom as it is to walk into one of our college classrooms or an online space. And so in some of our places, faculty are very well prepared to do that, but in many of our campuses, they are not. This is a new space for them to teach in. They walk in with care and compassion, but not necessarily the full complement of pedagogical tools for working in an environment very different than what they're used to. And so we have been relying on grant funds from the Andrew Mellon Foundation to work on an equity and curriculum project, with the core of that being development of professional development or development of professional learning modules that we're hosting in Canvas, developed by faculty teaching in our CDCR prisons for faculty teaching, primarily focused on our CDCR prisons because that's what the grant money was focused on, but certainly applicable to those teaching in jails as well. That is ongoing. We launched those officially after quite a bit of development, really making sure that the work reflected many perspectives and honored the students that we are working with in the environment, as well as the faculty engaging. We rolled that out in December and will continue to develop through the duration of the grant in June, and beyond that, it's a commitment that the Senate has made. As part of that additional effort and through the grant, we also are developing communities of practice. The first effort of that is actually has been webinars last spring and into the fall. We had our first on-ground gathering of faculty, Rising Scholars faculty at College of the Canyons in September, had an online event as well the day following. And then this spring, we're pulling together regional faculty, clusters of regional faculty, because often our faculty feel isolated. Most are part-time and many don't really know who else is teaching even for their own college and certainly not other colleges. And so pulling together regional clusters starting actually on Saturday at Merced College, and then Saturdays through the month of February and into the very beginning of March. So faculty can engage in what it means to teach in the prison, to work with students who are ready to learn and very interested in learning, to teach with equity and culturally responsive practices, to at times navigate, as Rebecca mentioned earlier, to very difficult bureaucratic institutions that don't always have complementary purposes or practices. And so that community of practice, working to create networks of faculty to better support each other and have places to go and rely on will be important as we continue this work. We also, the Senate created this year our first standing committee for Rising Scholars Faculty Advisory, and that includes faculty who are teaching in prisons, in jails, and within on-campus formerly incarcerated programs. And so we are working with a group of 13 faculty, kind of as our inaugural group, but that will be a standing committee. And then we're launching faculty liaison so that every college that has a Rising Scholars program, whether serving currently or formerly incarcerated students, we're asking them to identify through their academic senate as a faculty point of contact so we can continue the network, continue to get information out to the faculty doing the work. But certainly an honor to work with faculty who are doing incredible work with incredible students.
very much, Cheryl. So we will just close this out. We want to give you board members an opportunity to ask any questions or comments. We can put up the last slide and just let it sit there while we turn over to questions and comments. We have a number of things moving forward. You will see a Title V regulatory change coming before you as required by legislation to really codify the Rising Scholars Program and this work within Title V. As was mentioned, the youth justice grants are coming out. We do want to see if we can advocate for officially including these students within student equity and achievement. We have MIS updates going on, IPI partnerships, a lot of work that's moving forward. So we'll continue to bring you updates on the important work that our colleges and our faculty are doing to really transform lives here in California. So with that, we'll turn it back to you, President Costa, for questions and comments.
Yes, thank you so much. Board members, questions, comments? All right, we'll go with Board Member Grande and then Board Member Elizondo.
Thank you very, very much for providing the information on what it is that we are doing as a system to help our formerly and currently incarcerated. I would just like to know, what are you going to study at UCLA?
I'm a sociology major in Chicano Central American minor.
And what's it going to take for us to hire you in the community college?
Man, I do it for free. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but literally the faculty both at Palomar and Miracosta, they saved my life. You know, they supported me even throughout my incarceration.
That's awesome. Thank you for being here.
Well, I just wanted to thank you and everyone for being here that presented to us today about the Rising Scholars. I've had the opportunity to work closely with the Rising Scholars at Santa Monica College, being that I'm a former foster youth and I have crossover in that population often. And I've seen firsthand the impact and heard your story as well of these programs and how they provide the access to higher education and remove one of those barriers for them coming back into civilization after being incarcerated or currently incarcerated. So I really greatly appreciate these programs and that they are necessary to ensure equity and access to higher education. And I really appreciate the juvenile hall aspect to it as well, being on the youth commission and working closely with the juvenile halls, having going into those centers and having those youth tell us that they're having access to the higher education too. It's very important.
Thank you. Are there other board comments? I'm just gonna say, when I was a little baby staffer, I tried to fund prison education in Prop 98. This is 15 years ago. It didn't make it on the spreadsheet. So I'm just thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled that not only is there funding, but policymakers have provided ongoing funding for this. It's really just remarkable. And thank you so much for sharing your personal experience, because you're but one, and I know it's amplified throughout the state, this very same kind of transformational experience. So thank you so much. This was a just wonderful presentation. So appreciate it. With that, we'll turn it over to public comment on this item, please.
The public comment period for item 5.4 is now open. We will start with public remarks in Sacramento, then move on to virtual comments. For virtual attendees, please utilize the raise hand feature. If you're calling in, press *9. You will have 2 minutes. President Costa, we do not have any person comments, nor do we have any hands raised at this time.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We have item 5.5, baccalaureate degree program implementation update. You're still here with us, Dr. Lowe. Thanks for staying with us. And then we have you joined by our general counsel, Mark Boyski.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I know we are getting close to time. We have a fairly brief update here. Wanted to, of course, give you an update on where we are with those Cycle 1 baccalaureate degree programs. We updated you at your last meeting. We were in the process of trying to finalize agreements, intersegmental agreements for the last 3 programs from Cycle 1, the Feather River program, Moore Park, and San Diego City. Since the time that we met, we have received just a slew of support letters over 20 support letters that came in from various organizations like our academic senate, the league, our chief CIOs, our chief instructional officers, as well as numerous college districts. We were able in our consultations with our partners at CSU to reach agreement for Moore Park and San Diego City. And so those programs were forwarded to Board President Costa for approval and have been officially approved. So we're excited for that and very excited that those programs are able to move forward. And we thank our partners at CSU for that collaboration. We have not yet been able to reach agreement for the Feather River program. We, the staff here at the Chancellor's Office, have provided a recommendation to Board President Costa that given our review, the factors within the legislation, the requirements within the legislation and the information that we received, that we do believe that it is both the authority of the Board of Governors and appropriate for the Board of Governors to approve that program, but that decision is still pending. So as we are closing out cycle 1, we are moving into cycle 2. Applications closed on January 13th. We received 29 applications from across our system for 15 spots per the legislation. So before we even begin this, launch the second round of review, we're going to take a pause and sort of assess our process, make improvement on our processes, in particular, continue to have consultation with our four-year partners to improve that intersegmental duplication analysis process so that we can streamline it and move more quickly moving forward. So we'll definitely continue to bring this item for you. So anything you wanted to add, General Counsel? And if not, we'll turn it back to you, President Costa.
Thank you. With that, I see Board Member Haynes has her hand raised.
Thank you. I just, I want to, okay. I want to, so the due diligence on our part and the due diligence on the CSU and UC part, those are two due diligences. And so with regard to Feather River, when I listened the last time on this, it appeared that we had done our due diligence relative to making contact with and seeking, and more than one time, the faculty at all for the appropriate CSU. So what's the holdup?
It's
of us?
me.
Oh, okay, President.
Presidential discretion, as you may recall, Board Member Haynes. You know, I think, first of all, I just want to say that I really appreciate the work of both the CSU and our staff on this. We are literally building the airplane as we are flying it. And I think, you know, faculty certainly understand when we get into these programs that sound really great, and they are. It's also a lot of work. We, in this first cycle, had to develop the whole process, review the applications, reach intersegmental agreements. And I think there were some lessons out of that, as Dr. Lowe pointed out, that will serve us well as we go forward in this next cycle. I think, you know, my hope is that with our sister institution, we can reach agreement, including on Feather River. But I think we just need a little bit more time to have that conversation. And so that's what we're going to do. And then simultaneously, we have to look at the process for the next 29 applications. And unfortunately, you know, the statute, we're trying to forge another path, is what I will say. You know, the statute is basically duplication or no duplication. And I think there may be an alternative path forward on some of these applications, and we need time to explore that with our four-year partners. And so we're happy to come back and report back to the board on that. But, you know, I think as all new programs, sometimes we just need a little bit more time on the implementation side, especially since we have 29 staring down the barrel at us. We want to make sure we get our process right. And that everyone agrees.
So I absolutely agree with that, because we do need to do our due diligence, and we're learning with each one of these applications that will hopefully catapult us in the next 29, which will make it hopefully easier, and we'll learn from those as well. Absolutely. So I just want to, you know, I'm the urgency person.
Normally I am too.
So you understand, I'm the urgency, the urgency person, and so obviously I'm going to defer to the president, as the vice president had deferred to me relative to some of these things. So I've learned that piece too. I will say that we are learning. I get that part. And so, but I'm hoping that, okay, I hope the CSU is learning along with us relative to what's duplication and what is not. And that we really are serious about making certain that the students are being served in these regions in which there is no, four-year degree relative to it. So I want that learning to occur with our colleagues as well.
Yeah, and I would characterize, I think it's a very collaborative partnership that we
Good.
have with the CSU right now. And I have a lot of faith that on Feather River, we are going to come to agreement with our colleagues at CSU. And, we have the holidays, and I mean, I think Dr. Lowe can tell you, like, it's been a lot to come up with the rubric that we use with the application. And so, we're maybe a little bit behind schedule, and we're trying to right size that. But I also want to make sure that the process is clear going forward for all parties, because I think it's going to help us and ultimately help students. Because the one thing I will say, having previously worked at the CSU, I know everybody comes to this with the students in mind. We are all grounded on that, whether you're community college or CSU. That's all any of us want. And that's why I have faith that in both Feather River and the next 29, we are going to be able to reach agreement with our partners.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, does this delay impede Feather River and when they had intended to obviously kick off their bachelor's degree program?
Yes, I mean.
Originally.
The president is here, I'm sure
The
he's shaking
nod,
his head,
yeah.
yes, of course, I mean, they had a timeline and, this is gonna put them behind that. And I will say, my hope is that this issue is gonna be resolved in an expeditious manner. And I know CSU is committed to that as well. Yes.
President Costa, may I add, I'll just say, this is really important work, especially as we're looking at 29 new
That's right.
different applications. And if you recall, a year ago, we had this conversation. We brought it up again in your learning sessions, and we said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. It has to be sustainable. Like President Costa, we will look forward to having those conversations, finishing up the conversations in the next 2 weeks with our CSU partners. And I think it's really important to also then say to what Dr. Lowe said, we also then need to review our processes. That means one-on-one conversation. CSU is only one partner. We also have to then work with UC and then our four-year nonprofit public institutions. This is just one specific community, and we need to be ready for the next cycle.
So I share your urgency, but I want to get it right.
Good.
Yes, Member Rungy.
I would be remiss if I didn't weigh in on this particular
I
agenda.
know.
But I just wanted
Speak
to.
to its power.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, not only is there the collaboration between the community colleges and the CSUs and the UCs, but also between the original 15 baccalaureate programs and the new programs that have been approved. On March 2nd and 3rd, they are convening what we'll call the original 15, along with our new programs to help them as they implement their programs, learning from some of the missteps that we may have made or some of the amazing work that we have done and might make it easier for them. So the collaboration is system-wide.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You guys should get like t-shirts, original 15 or something.
Yeah. OG 15.
All right, with that, any other board member comments? Okay, with that, I'm going to open up this item for public comment.
The public comment period for item 5.5 is now open. We will start with public remarks in Sacramento, then move on to virtual comments. For virtual attendees, please utilize the raised hand feature. If you are calling in, press *9. You will have 2 minutes. I will hand it over to Vice President Aguinaldo for public comments in Sacramento, followed by virtual.
Very much. We have 6 requests for public comment. So let's do this in 2 panels of 3 if we can. I don't know if we have enough chairs up there, but the first panel will be Jenny May, Larry Galizio, and Dr. Sunny Cook. Please approach our podium.
And Sunny had to leave, so she gave me her statement.
You're comfortable at the dais, okay.
Greetings, I'm Jenny May, President of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. It's good to see you again. So the Academic Senate fully supports the 10 baccalaureate degree proposals as stated in our letter to the Board of Governors dated on December 6th, including the fire program at Feather River College, which we urge approval today. We met with the group on October 25th, and Feather River College has done everything they've been asked to do. I want to make it clear that although the Academic Senate had opposed baccalaureate programs in 2010, we changed our mind and supported it in 2019 because we saw the pilot programs were successful and expanded educational and career opportunities to students that might not otherwise have them. We fully supported AB 927 by Assemblymember Medina. I'd like to share with you a resolution passed unanimously by the delegates in the fall plenary session. Resolved that the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges work with the Chancellor's Office and system stakeholder groups to define duplication as it relates to California Community College baccalaureate degree programs with consideration to local unmet workforce needs, regional rather than statewide duplication, and potential impact on place-bound students.
30 seconds.
And we want to work with leaders of the CSU Academic Senate and UC Academic Senate to advocate for a definition of duplication that includes consideration of local and unmet workforce needs, regional rather than statewide duplication, and potential impact on place-bound students while acknowledging the different roles for philosophical intentions of each system's baccalaureate degrees, including preparing students for careers, postgraduate education, and ongoing research. Thank you.
Sunny Cook or?
Larry said Sunny, so we don't
Okay.
confuse.
Okay. Larry Glizio with the league, and perhaps no surprise, but it's important that all 73 districts and 116 California community colleges energetically support all 10 and including Feather River. Understand this is a difficult situation. I would say a couple of things. Number one, the legislation does not provide for veto power from the CSU on this. There are plenty of safeguards. There's been a lot of conversation and a lot of back and forth. And we strongly believe that this program is needed and it's urgent and it's ready, and accreditation will say the same. This is an equity issue. So I think about the gentleman that we had here, Mr. Jimenez, and people are place-bound. A lot of our students are place-bound, and they can't necessarily afford to be mobile, even with online education. The average community college student is probably is a woman in her mid-20s, perhaps low income, maybe with dependents. And to have an affordable degree in their backyard, so to speak, is absolutely essential. I would say also Feather River is uniquely qualified for this degree. The president will speak articulately about this. So again, understanding it's a difficult position, but we strongly urge you today to support this degree.
So I just want to clarify one thing to everybody in the room on process. The board, this is an information item. So the board, this is not an action item to be taken up. We have a board policy that delegated that authority to me. So just so people are clear on the actual process. Inside.
All right, so I'm speaking for Sunny Cook, Superintendent President of MiraCosta College for the past 9 years. So let me tell you the story of MiraCosta College's unique biomanufacturing bachelor's degree. We began planning in 2014 and built upon the strength of our biotech certificate and associate degree. We had a research and development track and a production track. We met with our local CSU campus to plan for which degree we would offer and worked with industry to create this unique program. It prepares people with all the skills to work in our local research and development university and early startups ecosystem of life science, biotech, and also to work in late stage bioproduction arena. This was literally the first of its kind degree in the nation, and we developed it with our Northern California partner, Solano College. It meets an unmet need in the regional life science biotech environment in San Diego. Our 6th class started this fall, and I'll report on outcomes for the 4 completed cohorts. 95% completion of the bachelor's degree, 92% employed in the field. Racial background reflects our student population, much more diverse than our community. 32% first generation, 80% economically disadvantaged, 21% food insecure, and 19% are registered with DSPS.
30 seconds.
So this degree is meeting the needs of individuals who would otherwise not have gotten a bachelor's degree, except for the local and affordable nature of our program. It meets important unmet needs in our region. I would hate for anyone who may not have understood the subtleties between biotech and biomanufacturing, which was an unmet need, or someone presenting the state, not our local area, to have decided whether or not we could offer this important program within our region. I hope we will not let that happen moving forward. Thank you.
Very much. We'll proceed with the second panel of 3, Mr. Kevin Tretna, Wendy Brill-Weinkoop, and Nathan Evans. Please proceed in that order.
Ready to start?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, President Costa, members of the Board of Trustees. I'm very nervous right now, and I have to apologize. I haven't been this nervous in a while. As you know, my name is Kevin Tretton. I'm the Superintendent President of Feather River College. I have the honor of serving Plumas County, Northern California region. I apologize if some of my remarks are uncomfortable, but I do not apologize for my advocacy for students. The FRC's bachelor's degrees was submitted over 12 months ago last week. We all know that this issue was solely focused on students. We would stop discussing this degree. It has been over 6 months past the deadline for CSU input. We have worked tirelessly with the CSUs for input. A former colleague of mine had a sign behind our desk. It simply read, "Think student, then decide." I will not go into the language of the law except to say that FRC exceeds the requirements. A task force is not an option. We have worked with them for 4 different meetings. We are past the legal deadline for input. A CSU degree is not offered as of today. That is part of the legal requirement, that the CSU degree has to be offered. And there is no duplication concern. Our degree is unique and is not duplicated by any CSU. Last month, you heard from an FRC student. We have 5 people on the line. Some had to leave because they've been on hold for over 5 hours. There are employers in our region that cannot find trained workforce. They cannot go to another CSU that's 5.5 hours away. Last month, you heard from an FRC student who was place bound. Asking her to go to another CSU is like asking somebody in Sacramento to go to Pasadena to take a degree. It is not possible for this place bound student. CAL FIRE, the United States Forest Service, Chico State, PG&E have all partnered. They all need employees and they've all asked us. I look forward to telling my campus, Northern California employers who are struggling to fill partner positions.
That's time.
And I feel this approval is in the best interest of students. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't remember the order. It's been a
Next.
long day. I started with good morning and then I think I had good afternoon and now I think it's technically good evening. I'm Wendy Brill-Weinkoop. I'm the president of the Faculty Association of the California Community Colleges. Public higher ed should be working together to support all of our students in California. We should not be competing with one another. FAC is in full support of BA programs at the community colleges. These programs are particularly vital for students who are place-bound, and the community colleges can help satisfy the need. Thank you.
And I will also edit on the fly. Good evening, President Costa and members of the board. My name is Nathan Evans. I serve as Associate Vice Chancellor and Chief of Staff for Academic Affairs at the CSU Office of the Chancellor. And on behalf of CSU Interim Chancellor Jolene Kester and the CSU Board of Trustees, I'm here today to express, as you've heard, continued concern regarding this item, and particularly the matter of academic program duplication. The CSU remains committed to working collaboratively with community colleges as we review pending and future baccalaureate degree programs We're well aware of the number that have come in, are anxious to get that work started as well. The support for all but one of the proposals during the first cycle is a clear demonstration of that commitment. And I'd like to acknowledge and express understanding, if not commiseration with my good colleague, Vice Chancellor Lowe. She has been an unbelievable partner in this work, incredibly collaborative, and I'm deeply appreciative of the work she and her team have undertaken. So I particularly want to appreciate that. Yet recent experiences have caused concern regarding the commitment of all parties to this shared important work. As the first round of baccalaureate programs illustrated, a clearly defined, mutually agreed upon process for resolving disputes arising when the CSU and community college have differing perspectives regarding duplications needed. One that does not delay the approval of programs for which the parties see no duplication.
30 seconds.
And such processes and the resulting decisions need to be upheld by all. In a communication from CSU Chancellor Kester to Interim Chancellor Gonzalez, in which you've all been copied and a copy has been shared, she requested the formation of a small and nimble work group to develop recommendations for a clear resolution process so we can begin the important work ahead of the next process. I personally have worked in intersegmental work in all three public segments over the last quarter century, excuse me. I wish. And this matter, we really wanted to continue to uphold that intersegmental work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay, do we have any virtual comments on this item?
We do. We have 12 hands raised at the moment. Start with Michael Hall.
I don't want to like dampen democracy here, but I do want to ask each of the speakers to stay to the limitation that's been given by our liaisons. Thank you.
Michael Hall, you have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you. My name is Michael Hall. I'm the district manager of the Feather River Resource Conservation District. This comments in support of the proposed bachelor's degree program in ecosystem management and applied fire science at Feather River College. Both FRC and the RCD are based in a region where over the last 2 years, we've been the epicenter of wildfires in the state. Our district is responsible for numerous restoration projects, including reforestation, habitat restoration, and fuels reduction. Over the past 3 years, I watched Feather River College respond to the issue of forest health and wildfire prevention by expanding and investing in its environmental studies program, strengthening its offerings of courses to include fuels reduction, application of prescribed fire, fish and wildlife studies, and habitat restoration. The Feather River region is remote and rural. Skilled, educated employees are difficult to attract and retain. The addition of a bachelor's degree in this field will expand the workforce in an area in critical need. Our organization already leans heavily on FRC to recruit employees, and we still struggle to find and retain people to do the work we need to do. Stifling this program would be doing a disservice to the state. If we as Californians want to protect natural resources, agencies at all levels need to support opportunities, providing sound science and real life practical skills. Feather River College is uniquely qualified to provide this. I hope the board brings this to consideration and supports the development of a bachelor's program in ecosystem management and applied fire science at Feather River College. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dana Flett. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
My name is Dana Flett, and I am faculty at Feather River College. Unfortunately, this conversation has actually not been centered on the important topics of access and equity, but rather has devolved into a political battle that moves farther and farther away from our primary responsibility, serving the best interests of our students. Feather River College is located in a geographic educational desert. The closest higher education institution is over an hour and a half away and is often inaccessible due to fires, floods, and snowstorms. The CSUs that continue to express duplication concerns are located a minimum of 6 hours away from our campus. By continuing to object to our efforts, you are not simply preventing students from accessing a 4-year degree at Feather River College. You are ensuring the vast majority of these individuals will receive no further education. I want to be clear that the urgency we feel is not hypothetical nor hyperbolic. 60% of our entire home watershed burned in a period of 3 years. Over 500 homes in our small rural county of less than 20,000 people were lost in the Dixie Fire. These are the homes of our students, our staff, our faculty, and our friends. As one of the largest institutions in our small community, people are looking to us to assist in making a meaningful impact in this exceptional time of need. We should not have to pull on your heartstrings or overwhelm you with gut-wrenching statistics to demonstrate the importance of this program in our college.
30 seconds.
Our homes are burning to the ground, our landscapes are changed forever, and I personally am fatigued by this unsavory turf war. However, I continue to remain hopeful that we can turn what has become a very disappointing process into collaboration that is solution-focused and has the best interests of our students, our communities, and our landscapes in mind. Our closest CSU campus has not raised objections, but instead found productive ways to partner in this important endeavor. Please,
Thank you, that is
join
time.
us in affecting change.
Our next speaker, the name on Zoom is just Ricky. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you. Ricky Shabazz, President of San Diego City College. I want to thank the Chancellor's Office and the board for your leadership. I'm going to change my remarks though and just humbly ask the President of the board to sign off on Feather River's program. It's the right thing to do. And to quote the great John Lewis, this is good trouble. I extend my concerns for our colleagues at the CSU and would love to see the data on the number of community college students who aren't admitted into the CSUs. California community colleges need to offer bachelor's degree, and in our lifetime, we will see this changed. Thank you.
Next, we have Andrea Wittig. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Good afternoon, Chair Acosta, members of the Board of Governors and staff. My name is Jose Fierro, President Superintendent at Cerritos College, and I also serve as the President of the Chief Executive Officers of the California Community College Board. I'm speaking today in support of all colleges undergoing baccalaureate degree program implementation. In particularly, I would like to express my support for the Bachelor's of Science degree in Ecosystem Restoration and Applied Fire Management through Feather River College. I recently had the opportunity to visit Feather River College and see firsthand the college's student-centered approach to academic success. FRC is changing the way people think of a typical college experience by utilizing the million-acre classroom surrounding its campus. The proposed baccalaureate degree program is a natural fit for Feather River College, and it benefits the state of California as a whole, particularly because the program aids in the development of an immediate workforce to address the impact of past fires and prevent future catastrophic fires. FRC collaborated with CSU faculty, UC faculty, fire agencies, indigenous leaders, and forest professionals to develop the Upper Division new curriculum concept. And the CEO-CCC full board support is degree implementation. Thank you for your attention.
Next, we have Subhash Kurkare. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Subhash Karkare. I'm the lead faculty for the biotechnology program at Moorpark College. On behalf of President Julius Sokenu and Moorpark College, I'd like to thank the Board of Governors for their support in the approval of the BS in Biomanufacturing program at Moorpark College. This approval means so much to our students who can now look forward to more rewarding careers in our local biotech industry. Many of our students are underprivileged and would not be able to avail themselves of a BS degree without this approach. The students now have a high school to career pathway while staying in the local area. It is truly a win-win-win for the students, for the biotech industry, and for Moorpark College. Thank you so much. And I'd like to add our support to Feather River College as well. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bridget Tracy. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Hello, my name is Bridget Tracy and I'm on the faculty at Feather River College.
California and our portion of the Northern Sierra are experiencing an ecological crisis of epic proportions. In our county alone, over 60% of the land has burned in the last 4 years. These fires have destroyed lives, homes, schools, towns, and entire ecosystems. If you have not been to our community, I would encourage you to come. It is a humbling and emotional experience. I doubt that anyone who has spent multiple hours on end driving through the burned forest of Plumas and surrounding counties would be advocating against building relevant vocational training programs aimed to educate local residents and the urgently needed skills required to restore and maintain our remaining landscapes. As our communities work to heal from these disasters, our industry and agency partners are desperate to hire trained professionals. The needed workforce is simply not here. In response, we have worked closely with these partners, along with CSU Chico, our closest CSU campus, and UC Extension to develop a regionally and vocationally focused degree to serve our local students. These students live 6 or 9 hours away from the CSU campuses, which have entered objections to our proposal, which offer relevant training in forest management. And still, none of them focus on Sierra Nevada ecology or fire restoration, which are unique topics. There is not one CSU or UC campus located within the entire 31,000 square mile region of the Sierra Nevada. And that is a very real and significant educational barrier.
30 seconds.
Disenfranchises rural students from our region, which is ground zero for this urgent restoration work, and is antithetical to the mission of AB 927 and ideas about equity in education. It's disappointing that at this moment of crisis, efforts to increase fire training and programs halfway across the state, some of which don't even currently exist, could prevent our college from providing students here with uniquely tailored vocational education in our own communities. Thank you.
Next, we have Hayden Lamp. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Hi, my name's Hayden Lampy. I spoke in the public comment last time, but I wanted to reiterate as this is something that I care a lot about. I'm a graduate of Feather River College. I left FRC in 2020 with 2 associate's degrees in environmental studies and outdoor recreation leadership. Since graduating, I've been working locally in my field at the Feather River Resource Conservation District. My first field season, I worked as a forestry technician. I then returned to the RCD the following season as crew lead. Throughout my 2 seasons at the RCD, we had projects involving reforestation, thinning, prescribed burning, and riparian restoration. Having a career already started in Plumas County, being a landowner, and having family close by leaves me rather place-bound, despite my desire to continue my education. After graduating from FRC, I had every intention of moving and transferring in hopes to pursue a bachelor's and even a master's degree. After applications and acceptances, I visited multiple locations and was either unable to secure housing, the cost of living was too high, or the area was not suited to my lifestyle. The approval of this ecosystem restoration and applied fire management degree would provide me with the opportunity to further educate myself and allow me upwards mobility in my chosen field. Having been a student through COVID, it's safe to say that online learning does not work for everyone, and the prospect of getting a degree online, especially in such a hands-on field as environmental sciences, sounds completely unrealistic to me and my situation.
30 seconds.
This degree would provide me and other community members with the opportunity to be active participants in facilitating management practices and underburns on our own fire-prone landscapes without ever having to leave Plumas County. Local community members can reach higher education without uprooting their lives. The addition of this degree would create a much-needed pathway that is accessible and affordable for place-bound people like myself that are still wanting to acquire bachelor's degrees. I'd like to thank you all for this space to share my thoughts and finish by saying that the approval of this degree would
Thank
truly.
you, that's time.
Next, we have Marissa Perez. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Good evening, Chair Acosta, members of the Board of Governors and staff. My name is Marisa Perez, and I am a trustee of Cerritos College, and I also serve as president of the Community College League of California Board of Directors and CCCT Board. Thank you for the opportunity to address you regarding baccalaureate degree program implementation of the 3 remaining applicants from Cycle 1, Feather River, Moore Park, and San Diego City College. On behalf of over 440 trustees statewide, I would like to express our support of the proposed baccalaureate degree programs. Academically, Feather River College ranks as the top for transfer graduation and retention rates among small California community colleges. We wholeheartedly support its Bachelor of Science degree in Ecosystem Restoration and Applied Fire Management, considering the student need, equitable social economic mobility, and critical workforce needs related to healthy forest management, prescribed fire, and other techniques to promote healthy forest ecology, as well as restoration of burned forests and ecosystems. Thank you very much for allowing me to address you today.
Just a quick hand count. We have 7 hands raised still. Jay Dvorak is next to speak. You have control of your mic and can address the board. Jay Dvorak, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, I'll start now.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is John Dvorak, and I am the Forest Health and Fuels Coordinator at Feather River College. Feather River College is delighted to have CSU campuses work to expand their fire offerings. We as land managers are currently meeting very small fraction of our goals that have been outlined by both the U.S. Forest Service and the Governor's Office to treat and burn California acres. Currently, only 125 acres are burned in California annually. CAL FIRE is aiming to burn 500,000 annually by 2025, and the Forest Service is aiming to burn 250,000 in California by 2025. This is an obvious example for an all hands on deck approach if we as a state have any chance of meeting these management goals. We as a state and as educators would be completely naive to think that only a handful of schools can provide all the prevalent trainings needed to combat this crisis. It will take a collaborative and focused effort to reach our state goals. FRC is committed to collaboration. We have worked with CSU campuses, UC Extension, community college agencies to develop major grants and develop training in forest management and prescribed fire. The highlights being our Good Jobs EDA grant, our CAL FIRE Higher Education Prescribed Fire grant, and our curriculum development grant. We as a college are frustrated that several campuses that do have well-focused interest in expanding education are using it now to penalize our campus.
30 seconds.
Slow forest management, slow education, and slow workforce development in crucial rural areas in the Sierra Nevadas. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have a phone caller. Your area code is 530. You should be able to unmute using *6.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Jonathan Pangburn. I'm a forester and prescribed fire practitioner with CAL FIRE. I serve in Plumas County. I have worked with my colleagues at Feather River College, as well as many other partners, in trying to improve workforce development. You've heard a lot about the ecology. There's been a little bit of discussion about equity, access, inclusion, and diversity. And I would like to note that expanding prescribed fire practitioners and fuels and ecosystem managers is something that will benefit not just those who live in the Plumas County region, the greater northern Sierra Nevada, but the entire state of California and potentially beyond, as people potentially at other points in their careers may not become place bound and might potentially travel. This is something that affects every ecosystem. And it is something that is not just an ecosystem component, but these are landscapes that affect our lives and properties. And I want to make sure that we keep in mind that on a practitioner side and on an agency side, we need to be cognizant of the impact that we have in our educational realm in terms of the real world. These are real lives and real properties that need protection and addressing so that we can have a proper restoration of ecosystems to support the citizens and ecosystems of the state of California. I strongly urge you to approve the program at Feather River College so that we can increase the pace and scale of badly needed ecological restoration. Thank you.
Next, we have Gabriel Miller. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Hi, everybody. Can I come in loud and clear? Is this good?
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Hey, my name is Gabe Miller. I'm the Assistant Director of Employer Partnerships assigned to Feather River College. Just want to share a little bit of my personal connection and why it matters. You know, for over 40 years, Feather River College has offered courses and programs in forest fire and restoration, and has developed a really long-standing relationship with the U.S. Forest Service and other industry partners in the region, and has a track record of giving students a direct pathway into the workforce. And my personal story as a first-generation DSPS student, alumni at FRC, I benefited from the forest fire and restoration courses. I was given the opportunity to take part in prescribed fire on campus, work directly with industry partners that ended up launching me into the career of fire, forest, and restoration work for over 20 years. I do believe that a bachelor's in the ecosystem restoration and applied fire degree would greatly expand our workforce development needs and really offer a community the need to kind of address some of our forest, fire, and climate change needs. And that's it. Thanks for the time.
Next, we have Audrey Selby. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Hello, my name is Audrey Selby. I'm the director of the Upward Bound program at Feather River College. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, Upward Bound is a college prep program funded by the U.S. Department of Education that specifically serves high school students in our region who come from families where neither parent holds a bachelor's degree and or their families qualify as low income. It only takes a quick Google search to find that wildfires disproportionately impact low income communities. Rural areas experience 3 times more wildfires, and there is a higher proportion of low income residents and residents without college degrees in these wildfire prone areas. Hey, that's my students. So rural communities need access to higher education. FRC is uniquely positioned geographically within the Sierra Nevada range, which carry a bulk of fuels and thus a greater risk of wildfire devastation. You can ask any of my students and they'll be able to list off the Dixie Fire, the Claremont Fire, the Bear Fire, all of these probably within the last 5 years, which creates a collective trauma, not only for our students, but also the community. In an effort to promote environmental justice, I implore you to improve the Ecological Restoration and Applied Fire Bachelor's Degree program at Feather River College.
30 seconds.
So the board of directors would be providing access to higher education in rural low-income communities and promoting the creation of an educated workforce in these communities, and further creating a workforce to address a need in the region. FRC County is no stranger to wildfire. Furthermore, this program would empower those impacted by fires locally to do something to reduce the devastation of wildfires here in the future. Thank you for your opportunity to comment.
Next, we have Matt Wetstein. Oh, I'm sorry that that hand went down. So Jay Resting, you have control of your mic and can address the board.
Yes, thank you. My name is Joe Restano, and I'm a senior scientist at CAL FIRE, specializing in prescribed fire and landscape restoration. And the proposed program at Feather River College is uniquely designed to meet the technical needs of the state's effort to grow the workforce capacity in fire management. It also represents a first of its kind effort to offer students an educational toolkit for the state's effort to increase the pace and scale of prescribed fire, as articulated by the governor and the Wildfire Forest Resilience Task Force. These are extraordinary times, and there's no better location than Feather River College to unpack some of the details of learning opportunities for the Dixie Fire, the North Complex, Camp Fire, and several other fires that have burned over 1 million acres in the nearby communities. I humbly offer my support for this program, and thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Next, we have Kevin Walthers. You have control of your mic and can address the board. Kevin Walthers, you have control of your mic and can address the board.
Sorry about that. I am Kevin Walters, the Superintendent President of Allen Hancock College and a member of the statewide CEO Board. I fully support the specific expansions discussed today and other expansions that will be coming in the future. This conversation hits at the heart of my #1 source of heartburn in California. We as a state are short of baccalaureate degrees, yet there are significant parts of the state and the state's economy that are not served by a CSU. We serve northern Santa Barbara County, including Santa Maria, the largest city in the county. Our community is home to farm workers and laborers who do not have the educational background that those here today have. In fact, 60% of the adults in the city of Santa Maria don't have a high school diploma. Our students are not just first-generation college students, they are first-generation high school students. The closest traditional CSU to Hancock College is more than 110 miles away. It is unfathomable that we would allow one segment of higher education to first ignore the needs of low-income students of color and then prevent another segment from serving those very students. As it happens, EdSource published an op-ed last night that I wrote with input from several CEOs across the state. Today, I have received support from the message of providing equal footing to our community college system from more than 25 other CEOs. I can assure you that the CEOs across the state of California are ready and prepared to serve the students in our communities. Thank you.
30 seconds.
Next, we have Abby Marshall. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Hi, I'm Abby Marshall. I'm on the board of directors at Feather River College. I grew up within the area of Plumas County that Feather River College serves. And I also work as a wildlife biologist within the community on these public lands that this degree would help support. I want to reiterate what so many wonderful comments have been made so far about how there is a desperate need in this community to have access to bachelor's programs because many students are not able to move 6 hours away to get any type of even remotely similar education, bachelor's programs. And so we really need in this community, it is desperately needed. And we have such a lack of the workforce that this type of program would support and increase our ability to protect communities in the future. And also, when it comes to equivalent degrees, students will be having a very different experience here in the Northern Sierra Nevadas than they would get at any type of program that might be similar within the coast of California or any other place, because this ecosystem is very different. And so the students will be having a different experience here as well. And I just wanted to reiterate everybody's wonderful comments so far and add more support. Thank you.
Last, we have Matt Wetstein. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Matt Wetstein. I'm the president of Cabrillo College, and I rise to speak in favor of the baccalaureate programs, and particularly the one from Feather River. Like that region, our region has suffered from tragic wildfires and had 25% of our district population evacuate from their homes 2 years ago. I'm thankful for all of the work that's been done by the staff, faculty, and leaders at Feather River to design a program like this. Quite frankly, an applied fire and restoration program that they've designed is a vital necessity for their region, but it's also a vital necessity for our region, for our state. And as others have said, we need climate change workers in this state. And we are going to fall short unless we start to expand our baccalaureate offerings. I'm grateful to the Feather River staff for being what community colleges should be, responsive to the educational and workforce needs of their region. And I'm grateful to the Chancellor's Office and to the board for supporting this program. Thank you.
President Costa, that was our last hand raised.
Thank you, Gary. So clearly more to come on this item. Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. We next are on item 5.6, board member reports and recognitions. I do know that board member Perry has asked to go first because she had a hard stop at 5:15, so I want to honor that. Go ahead, board member Perry.
Thank you, President Costa. I couldn't let things go without speaking about my colleague, Ms. Valerie. We live in the same city, but I never had the chance, I knew of her, but never had the chance to get to know her until we served on this board together. And it's been one of the great gifts among many of being on the Board of Governors is having the time to know Valerie, watch her steadfast commitment to underrepresented youth, her clarion call, her absolute clarity all the time when she is advocating for a position and for the youth and the communities that she cares so passionately about. I've learned a lot. And in the process, we've had some very good times together. We compromised on where to sit on Southwest. I wanted the front, she wanted the back. I still lollipops, even though she made me move way further back in the plane than I ever wanted to. We had what I think we both would qualify as a almost near-death experience in a 5-minute that turned into a 25-minute Uber ride in Riverside. And we also, as she mentioned, we were lucky to have true bipartisanship when it still existed with Connie. The three of us had some wonderful dinners together. So I'm going to miss Valerie a lot. As I said, I've learned so much, and I think the board has learned so much, and we will all miss again her humor, her clarity, and the way she profoundly, profoundly cared about the communities that the community colleges serve so well. So thank you. I'm happy to call you, yikes, a former member of the Board of Governors, but still a friend. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, board member Perry. I have board member Haynes with her hand raised.
Thank you. So I remember Valerie trying to explain her style, and she says, I am authentic. And she is. No doubts about it. So to the authentic Miss Valerie Shaw, you did it, baby. And so I hope that, and with pleasure, I'm sure that you're going to keep that authenticity no matter where you go in LA, because you will be remembered here for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have board member Epstein and then Vice President Aguinaldo.
I just have to add my 2 cents. Love Valerie. She's a totally unique personality and has brought a lot of humanity and joy, I think, and reality into this board. And definitely going to miss her. And but I'm not going to stop seeing her. So take care, and stay in touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Valerie Shaw is nothing short of a sage. Two of the qualities I admire most about her are her just absolute fearlessness and the fact that she has this perfect balance of patience and impatience. And one of my most treasured memories will be when I talked to her about this book that I adored, and it's called The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. And I was talking to her about all the wonderful characters and how well they were described in the book. And she told me, and my summary, of course, you can read whatever you want, but I have the lived experience. And she took a picture of the home of one of the main characters and sent it over to me. And it was this realization that her lived experience is second to none. And I will always admire that about her. We can read things in books, but she saw it firsthand. And I hope she doesn't take offense to that, because if my kids told me the same story, I would feel like they were telling me that I was old, but I'm not telling you that, Valerie. You have a lot of experience. So best of luck in whatever your faux retirement brings to your plate next, but you're an absolute treasure to have, and we will certainly miss you. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have Board Member Grande.
I am not going to say anything other than ditto to everything else that was previously said, Valerie. You will be missed. And if at some point in time in the future, arrangements need to be made, we can play back this and begin to write the eulogy that will be your life. Although it isn't anywhere close to being penned. So enjoy your time away from us. We will miss you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have Board Member Hall.
Valerie, it's late, so I'll just echo everything that's been said about you, but it was absolutely my pleasure to meet you and get to know you now almost 4 years ago. So best of luck to you. You'll succeed at whatever you end up doing. I hope it's a quiet retirement. Thank you.
Thank you.
No chance.
Well, we all know Valerie. We'll not be quiet. With that, Board Member Villalobos.
Well,
I don't think very much has been left unsaid. I just want to thank you for everything I've learned from you this last few years. Your passion, your compassion, the dedication that you have to the student population and those we serve is incredible. I wish you the best. I hope that you have a great time in your retirement, and please don't be a stranger. And from time to time, come and during public comments and give us some grief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Rawlings.
So I'm hoping that Valerie will be like Jeffrey Baum and join us on a regular basis, which would be fantastic. But there's one of the things, that I don't think has been said, but before I get to that, I just want to share with Valerie that it's really going to be hard to not call you a colleague, but it's going to be great to call you a friend. So I'm really looking forward to that. But in addition to being, I when I think of Valerie, I think of like Dorothy Height, right? You're fearless, you're fierce, you're a strong advocate, you're clear, and you do it all with such class and grace, in addition to all the humor you bring. And so there's so many qualities about you that I appreciate. And I certainly appreciated being a new board member, getting to ride in the van with you over to the office and really get some of that wisdom as a new board member. And you caught so many things for me where it could have been a pitfall and I could have misstepped, and your advice and your mentorship was absolutely invaluable to me. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have Board Member Medina.
Board Member Shaw, I never got to meet you. We've only been colleagues for about 3 months or so. But thank you for your years of service to students of the California Community College system. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I wanted to thank everybody. Know that I admire everyone. I particularly want to thank Chancellor Daisy Gonzalez. I think she's really held things very, very steady, done a stellar job for the last 18 months. Is just a young person with a fabulous future. And so I want to thank you, Daisy, for really donating your life's blood to this system. It's just been extraordinary. I want to thank all the board members. I want to thank particularly the vice chancellors that I work with, Chancellor Lowe and Chancellor Navarrete, to sort of help us move things, particularly with the HBCU, Umoja, and A2Men program. And then I want to thank, too, Christina Castro. She's sort of the wind beneath all of our wings. She has kept everything going. And it's just really, helped me in a number of ways. So again, I want to just reiterate that you all are doing God's work. And if anybody asks you, how do you really want to help society? Since I've been on this board and really known the intricacies of what you do, what we've done, is it really is about somehow participate. If you want to really help somebody participate in the community college system, that's where your time and effort really matter. So thank you. I'm not retiring. I'm retiring from this board, but I'm still on 5 other boards. So as long as I can think, I'll continue.
All right. Thank you, Valerie. Well, to Bill's comment, maybe we'll come and give you public comment at your other board.
Yeah,
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
With that, we have item 6.1, public forum. Do we have any public comments?
Public forum is now open. We will begin with public comments in Sacramento, followed by virtual comments. Virtual attendees, please utilize the raise hand feature. If you're calling in, press *9. You will have 2 minutes. I do not believe we have any in-person hands raised, or excuse me, in-person comments, but we do have a couple hands raised, so I will hand it over to Gary.
Let's start with Jeremy Cox. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, perfect. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Jeremy Cox, and I'm representing Calbright Community College. We're in the process of launching our student government at the moment, and our elections end on January 31st. I'm running for the student body president. I'm here to address the impact of lifting the emergency declaration as it pertains to the Brown Act, and specifically the stipulation that when we hold our meetings, we must list the addresses of all attendees. We're seeking a resolution to this section and asking for that for the virtual meetings, this requirement need not be met. The issue of privacy, as well as the other aspects of listing out every participating person, is the reason for this resolution. One thing that came out of the pandemic is the advantage of teleconferences and the inclusion of all interested parties who want to attend. I've also been listening to the entire meeting today, and I've heard all the conversations about online learning, access to education, and at the community college level, and housing and financial aid for students. All these issues are also important, and in today's climate, I think that there's going to be more conversations about modifying the current laws and regulations, and also in the way that community colleges and universities reach out to students and let them know about what is available to them. I'm pleased that these issues are at the top of mind with you all, and removing as many barriers as possible is the key to attracting people to education. And that's not always an easy task. So thank you for listening and your consideration, and we hope that we can get your assistance with this resolution.
Next, we have Michael Way. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. My name is Michael Way, and I'm a student at Calbright College, an online community college serving students in California. I'm going to be joining student government at Calbright, and one of our concerns is that the Brown Act requires that all meeting participants in a teleconference must disclose their location, their physical address. In the case of students at Calbright, this will be where we live. I think it's important to maintain some privacy, and it's reasonable to keep our home addresses private. Having this will lend to a freer public discourse, and we will feel more free to express our opinions on a variety of topics. I'd like to ask for the assistance of the Board of Governors in helping us to obtain an exemption to the Brown Act so that we will not have to disclose our physical locations when participating in board meetings or other types of meetings. The Student Senate for California Community Colleges is also supporting us in this and will help us craft a resolution to advocate for this exemption. Thank you for your help in this matter.
Next, we have Jeffrey Michaels. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you. You can hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Jeffrey Michaels, and I'm speaking as president of the California Community College Independents, CCCI, which represents 13 independent collective bargaining agents representing our faculty. I am also the president of the Bay Faculty Association, representing Northern California faculty unions. And I have both these jobs because I served as vice president to Richard Hansen, who was our president for many years, CCCI, and at Bay Faculty Association. I wanted to let the Board of Governors know that Richard Hansen passed away about a week ago. And Rich has spoken to this governing board many times. He was the former president, not only of CCCI and BFA, but also of FAC. He was the president of his local Foothill De Anza Faculty Association, and he was a consummate gentleman who cared deeply about our students and our system, and really had a profound effect on many of us. Very inspiring faculty leader, a math professor at De Anza College, and a CalSTRS advocate.
We will hold a memorial celebration for Rich on April 21st, somewhere in the Bay Area, and I will make sure everybody knows about it if anyone would like to come. And I just wanted to let you know that Rich has left us, but his legacy will live on. I think he's influenced our system in lots of wonderful ways. So I just wanted to stay around today and let you all know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michaels, for letting us know that. I appreciate it.
Our last speaker is Lisa Rose. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Thank you very much. I have two items. One is I recently interviewed at a variety of community colleges, and I was very alarmed about the selection process. Things I heard, in contrast to all of the emphasis on anti-bias and diversity training, some of the things that I heard really gave me pause, such as the question of what kind of safety procedures had been put into place. This is at the Peralta Community College District. The answer was, well, you know, we are in Oakland. I don't think I have to explain to you how incredibly what can I say? I think you understand. In a request for accommodation, response was no immediately, and then they turned around and changed their mind and said, oh, they said, only because your doctor, et cetera, et cetera. Change your attitude towards people who are disabled. Just because someone asks for an accommodation, don't assume they're a slacker immediately. And in the assessment, I actually read through some case notes from the federal government on a case that's moving through being handled by the EEOC.
30 seconds.
I just want to mention the selection process. You have the qualification process down, but not the selection process. It's loaded with bias. Please address it. That's it.
And we actually have one more hand that's come up.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Jennifer Tanaka Hoshijo, you have control of your mic and can address the board.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Tanaka Hoshijo, and I'm a professor of kinesiology, as well as the vice president for the CCC PEKD. I would like to speak on the proposed CalGETC and AB 928. The California Community College System understands the diverse students that we serve and the requirements they need to succeed. We are the nation's largest system of higher education, serving more than 1.8 million students. And we are unique in that much of our focus is to assist our distinct student population build a better future for themselves and their families. A lot of these students do not qualify for either the CSU or the UC system initially out of high school. Because of the amazing work of the California Community College System, a lot of these students can transfer to the CSU or UC systems after 2 years at our colleges. Nearly 1/3 of UC graduates and nearly half of CSU grads started their education at community colleges. An important part of this work at the community college system includes educating our students in our Area E, lifelong learning and self-development classes. The mission of the California Community College System includes the importance of mind-body connection. And this allows community colleges to serve our students by providing tools that will empower them to succeed far beyond our college. The proposed CalGETC removes the Area E requirement that includes health and physical activity classes, threatens the California Community College Vision for Success plan regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is contrary to the goals of the guided pathways, and if implemented, will widen equity gaps for underrepresented students, particularly in the area of health equity, which can quickly and dramatically derail students from academic goals and deter them from their educational pathways. Students need and deserve college education in the science of human movement, health, nutrition, wellness,
Thank
and
you. That is
physical activity.
There are no more hands raised.
All right, thanks, Gary. With that, I'm going to give the last word to Dr. Gonzalez before we adjourn.
No pressure, but just thank you. I know we went over today. I want to make sure that I recognize and thank Member Shaw for her leadership, her legacy on this board and this system. We sent you a small recognition. You'll probably get it in the mail. And it's small. You have left a big impact on the system. So we just wanted to say thank you. Board members, I know we stayed over, but we hope to see you at the Rice Awards tomorrow. You will be honoring 2 different campuses. 8 to 9 is check-in, 9 a.m. is breakfast. So if you're here in person, we hope you can join us.
Thank you so much. With that, we are adjourned.
The time is 5:52. This concludes the meeting of the Board of Governors.
Yes, it is.
Look at that. Hour over, man.